we raised $12 million within a week. If you don't have a good funding, they won't even trust you. Our goal is like, why not make it a $100 billion business? We hired somebody who had a payment background, and then we hired somebody who had a security background. Because security is also very, very key in this business. 99% of our tech and product team is Nepal. 60, 70,000 contractors, they work for foreign companies in Nepal. Now they can go YouTube, they can take online course. Code like it's easy.
नेपालमा बसेर US को company build गर्छु भने त गाह्रै हो के.
Team चाहिए के. Like you need a co-founder. You need somebody to talk to. You have to. नेपाल एसियामा चाहिँ के छ भने मेरो आइडिया चाहिँ एकदमै अर्कोलाई भन्यो भने लग्छ कि त्यसले भन्ने हालको त्यो कन्सेप्ट रहेछ कि building product is easy. तर how do we go to market? Sometimes you have to take one step back before you take two steps forward. The cold call works really well in our business, right? Just because you raised so much money doesn't mean you will succeed. In next 3 to 5 years, you will see companies with like a 5 or 10% company doing hundreds of millions of dollars revenue, and it's only possible, because of AI.
And so AI मा पनि mostly Gen AI मात्र हाइप भइराको, LLM मात्र हाइप भइराको जस्तो फिल हुँदैन हजुरलाई?
Use AI tools, but that's still a challenge because you need a way to distribute your product.
So
sales, marketing, how do you do that?
Niural मा चाहिँ अहिले हजुरले AI कसरी युज गरिराख्नु छ?
We're also using AI to be able to generate contracts, like employment contracts. Investors are like, okay, I can actually invest in these founders because they have gone through that journey.
PayPal जस्तो भयो के हैन?
PayPal, exactly, right. Same thing, right? India मा पनि there are a bunch of different stories like that. We want to help companies, hire talent from Nepal, but they also need to do their job and make sure that they're actually skilled enough to do that.
Nabin, स्वागत छ हाम्रो पडकास्टमा.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Glad to be able to host you here.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
अनि I think this is our second meeting. अनि first time हजुरसँग भेटेर घर फर्किँदाखेरि चाहिँ एउटा के रिफ्लेक्सन लिएर फर्केको भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ I've been meeting entrepreneurs for a couple of years, because of the Doers. You don't really get to meet entrepreneurs who have built multiple things in their lifetime. Right. Generally, अब नेपालमा चाहिँ हेर्दाखेरि कस्तो हुन्छ भने एउटा entrepreneur एउटा कुरा सुरु गर्छ, and then they invest the rest of their life building that business, हैन? अनि बाहिर अब वेस्टमा त सुनिन्छ इन्भेस्टमेन्ट उठाउँदै एक्जिट गर्दै उ गर्दै हैन. अनि meeting you that really gave me that reflection कि I think मेरो कन्भर्सेसन त यहाँबाट सुरु गर्छु भनेर हैन.
Sure. Yeah.
This is your second company that you are leading, Niural.
Yeah, it's actually third, but yeah, second VC backed startup as a second.
Okay. Yeah. Technically third company.
Technically third company.
Okay. I am really curious. Just for example, कसरी हुन्छ? जस्तै कस्तो हुन्छ एउटा you generally entrepreneur मा त त्यो एउटा आफ्नो प्रोडक्ट प्रतिको अट्याचमेन्ट हुन्छ नि त हैन. अनि यो मेरो बच्चा हो जस्तो वाला टाइपको भइदिन्छ. बनाउँदै बेच्दै गर्ने वाला माइन्डसेट चाहिँ कस्तो खास भने?
So कस्तो भने when you start, that's not your goal. म बेच्छु भनेर I want to sell this company भन्ने हुँदैन. And what happens is म चाहिँ I didn't college सकेपछि I actually worked in corporate environment and then and that's very different. I spent almost 12 years and I decided to forego all of that and went to entrepreneurial journey to start companies. And there's always this mindset that company build garyo, and at some point you start to think about, is it big enough? So whatever you wanted to do from the beginning, I know you've done it, it's going well. But then there's always that mindset I want to take this company public. But everybody has that mindset, right? Every entrepreneur has that. I want to make it a $1 billion, unicorns and blah blah blah. IPO, they all have that dream. But you have to be a little bit realistic as well. Okay? The product that you are building, the company that you have built, over the, let's say, last 2 to 3 years or 4 years, is it really like an IPO ready, IPO material company? Is it really going to be multi-billion-dollar company? So, to reflection, say you have to have it at some point. And it wasn't intended from the beginning to suru garera bechu bhanera, but then there was a point where I think we were the Orca company Acorns one is it they tried to buy us a 5th time, okay? And then on the 5th time, so we also had a better visibility into what the valuation could be, what we can do with it. त्यो सबै कुराहरु चाहिँ it all came in full circle भनौं न. That's why we sold it, also realizing that this company may not be the IPO company that we thought about, may not be a multi-billion-dollar company. So if we sold it to them, and then that could be a IPO ready company, and vis-a-vis उनीहरूकोबाट हाम्रो कम्पनी पनि sort of public गयो भने जस्तो के so that's the thought process थियो पहिलाको कम्पनीमा चाहिँ but then this Neural is huge, like the TAM is huge, the use case is amazing. There's a lot of innovation, there's a lot of things that had happened to build Neural. Your pandemic देखि लिएर there's like entire world is changing. अनि त्यो भएको भएर चाहिँ हामीले we thought about what we wanted to do with Neural भनेर, so we thought long and hard. And it wasn't now Neural चाहिँ it's not about money, it's about okay, let's build a big company, use Nepalको talent, and then build like a generational type of company. About company 2 billion हुन्छ कि 1 billion हुन्छ कि 10 billion हुन्छ कि 100 billion हुन्छ, who knows, but let's give it 10 years, at least 10 years. We are in a big space, there's a lot of changes coming, and let's dream big भनेर चाहिँ we started Neural.
त्यो हजुरको the company that you exited कुन पोइन्टमा चाहिँ रियलाइज भयो कि लाइक केले गर्दाखेरि रियलाइज भयो कि दिस इज नट अ आइपिओ मटेरियल कम्पनी भनेर?
त्यस्तो भन्दा पनि basically we were doing really well, right? So we started in 2018. It was a true AI company, like a tech company that we built. So
युज केस चाहिँ के थियो?
use case चाहिँ, so it was a B2C consumer fintech US को लागि. So we basically helped end consumers को उनीहरूको liability चाहिँ financial institution बाट automatically हाम्रो AI bot ले negotiation गरेर उनीहरूलाई उनीहरूको feesहरू refund गरिदिन्छ.
For example,
US मा चाहिँ के हुन्छ, it's a little bit of a gimmick, right? So you go and basically open up a Bank of America checking account, they tell you like, oh, it's free. But then we found out like average customer has about $786 in all kinds of fees that they're paying per year to that bank.
Hey, that's not even related to the service they're taking. Like,
No,
it's just
it's like they're like
fine type.
It's basically account fees, maintenance fees, overdraft fees. They're like tons of technique. And then if you look at your some of the company like financial bank or financials, they make like $6, $7, $8 billion just on bank fees.
Okay.
So it's a huge revenue generator for them. अनि यो ब्याङ्कहरूको चाहिँ के पनि हुन्छ नि, they bought like multiple different companies, multiple different bankers. The system are not fully aligned, okay? They are not integrated.
Interoperable.
So, yeah, and then they make tons of mistake, right? So there was a huge case about Wells Fargo. They were opening up like 10 accounts per customers, and the customers didn't even know. So त्यस्तो चाहिँ धेरै भएको छ, and they're paying like a huge amount of fines पनि के US को त्यो regulatorहरूलाई like Citi or Wells Fargo pay like billions of dollars of fine. And if you look at like your bankहरूको त्यो 10K मा it's all written there. And we found that out. We basically said, okay, can these fees be returned, right? So we pick up a phone and call the bank. No questions asked, they refund the fees.
ए ओके,
Right? No questions asked.
त्यो हजुरले आफ्नै एकाउन्टको लागि गर्नुभयो?
We did it for हाम्रो अकाउन्टको लागि, हाम्रो friends and family अकाउन्टको लागि हैन. Then we realized, okay, so there's like something going on, so we dig deeper. So हामीले company चाहिँ अर्कै harvest चाहिँ we started as like an investment company focused on women भनेर सुरु गरेको थियो. We started looking at the data, and this is what we found out. We started calling banks, we started looking into 10K, 10Qs, all those things. And then we're like, okay, this really
10K,
works.
10Qs
भनेको चाहिँ कम्पनीहरूको यो पब्लिक फाइलिङ हुन्छ, एनुअल यो फाइनेन्शियल डिस्क्लोजरहरू, अनि त्यसमा चाहिँ यो सबै लिस्ट हुन्छ.
जसले पनि डाउनलोड गरेर हेर्न पायो.
एभ्रीबडी इट्स अ पब्लिकली ट्रेडेड कम्पनीहरूको चाहिँ SEC.gov मा गयो भने इट्स अभाइलेबल हैन. अनि सो वी स्टार्ट, अब फाइनेन्स ब्याकग्राउन्ड पढेको मान्छे लाइक we know like where to look भनेर. So and then we started calling banks, getting money back, and we thought like, okay, let's use new technology to automate this thing. There are other companies that say your phone, they were using like people in Philippines, so we really needed like a true tech like bot that goes into banks and negotiate. And त्यति बेलामा चाहिँ मेरो wife as well as Nami, she was exposed to a transformer model भन्ने Twitterमा. And then that's when she brought this idea of like using natural language processing to build this bot. And then that can go to the bank, go your chatbot बाट and automatically negotiate गर्ने. So it's basically a AI super agent that we built. त्यति बेला चाहिँ यो अहिलेको जस्तो फाउन्डेसनल मोडलहरू यो ओपन एआई लाइक च्याट जीपीटीहरू केही पनि थिएन. सो वी बिल्ट लाइक मिनी एलएलएम, अनि त्यसको डेटा लेभलिङ टिम चाहिँ नेपालमा थियो कि.
ओके.
And then so we refined the system like हुन्छ नि, it started like 60-70%. It got to like 99% accurate हैन. So you go, you put in your information. US मा चाहिँ Plaid भन्ने छ. Plaid gets you like all of the transaction history for a year. Our algorithm will automatically identify the fees that you can negotiate with the bank. And our bot will go and do all of those negotiations automatically and get the money back to customers.
Over a voice or over a chat?
Over a chat. अनि whatever money we got back to customers, we got 25% of it, right? So they got free money back. अनि त्यो चाहिँ किन रहेछ भने यो people have inertia to call banks. अनि some of these fees are like $15, $30, $40. यस्तो busy life छ US मा. Nobody has time to call the bank and ask for that. अनि अर्को कुरा चाहिँ a lot of people have, like even I did, right? I have this old Wells Fargo account that I opened up when I was in US in 2002. And they kept charging fees that I never, looked into it. So धेरै मान्छेहरुको त्यस्तो हुन्छ के त्यहाँ चाहिँ. They have like multiple bank accounts, credit card accounts, and they don't pay attention, and these fees are like just piled up. And that's what our botले चाहिँ, our AI bot, super agent त्यति बेला चाहिँ, that's what it did. And then we refunded hundreds of millions of, fees to customers. अनि यो pandemicको बेलामा चाहिँ even got more popular because bank were like very generous in terms of refunding those money back to the customers.
Okay.
And we got, featured in Forbes and CNBC and all of those things. And then it exploded. The business literally exploded. I think we went from like zero to somewhere around like $8-9 million in ARR in like 24 months with like 12-13% team. And then, at that time, we were actually going to raise Series A, and we had all these other products like, no checking bank account, no overdraft fee bank account, debit card. Kind of like, we're about to release like a neobank, in the US. And we had a term sheet from a VC as well. And that's when Acorns, they came in. Their CEO was like, investor from day one, also an advisor. And they tried to buy us like 3 or 4 times before. So that time, it actually made sense because the offer that we got was very good. And,
We have not disclosed anywhere.
We have not disclosed that, but, the investors loved it. We loved it. And then we also got equity into Acorns.
Okay.
Acorns was about to go to IPO at that time as well. त्यो भएको भएर चाहिँ we thought, okay, this is like, match made in heaven. And they were also serving like very similar customer base. अब हाम्रो चाहिँ 200,000-300,000 customers थियो. They had like 6 million. So they really took our product, they upped their tier from like $3 to $9, and immediately realized about $20 to $30 million in ARR in their, त्यो उसमा के. So it's a truly phenomenal product. It's still embedded in Acorns app.
Okay.
So if anybody in the US listening, right, if they have Acorns app and they have fees, they can go try it out. It still does.
$9 a month.
Right, and $9 a month, they can get all of their fees and everything back, त्यहाँबाट.
You still own the equity in...
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah. That was our on the whole negotiation. Like, we want equity because we know Acorns is going to be an amazing company down the road, and we wanted part of the upside. And, that kind of sweetened the deal for us.
हजुरको हिस्ट्री चाहिँ ब्याङ्किङ हो.
So म चाहिँ, I spent 12 years in Wall Street. So after I graduated from finance in New York, I went to work for KPMG, भन्ने, like, Big Four accounting firm को advisory services. And then after that, I didn't like the consulting role that much. So I actually went to what is called alternative investments. Private equity, real estate, hedge funds, venture capital. So I went to JP Morgan ko. These banks have what is called like a private bank. Bank bitra pani. Those private banks are like really designed for like, centimillionaires or billionaires of the world. अनि उनीहरूको पैसा चाहिँ म्यानेज private bank. Okay. So
bank भित्रकै
private bank. Okay. And you need at least like a $25 million of liquid capital to be able to be member of those private bank. Okay. And it's like very exclusive.
Okay.
अनि JP Morgan बाट चाहिँ after 1 year I went to Citi Private Bank भन्नेमा. So Citi ले चाहिँ यो financial crisis पछि they were rebuilding this whole asset management business, and I had a unique opportunity to go there, be the first finance guy to be able to build that business. Okay? And that kind of spoke to my, I wanted to do something entrepreneurial. I was in H1B visa. Okay? So that restricted me going and starting a company.
Hey, okay.
I know, so I needed to get my green card for the H1B ko the visa ko very complicated issues in US.
If you want to
Well, let's say alikati easy sa entrepreneur, like they can get all of these visas, startup visas. 2000, I'm talking about 2010, 11. Not that it's the reason, but once again, right? You've already been there for 8-9 years. You want to get your green card and do something with it. So I took that role, thinking that that's going to grow, and I have an opportunity to build something within the larger company. And so I was there from 2011 to 2018. We went from 1 billion in assets to about 30 billion in assets in that time period, and my team grew from like 1 to 60.
You were leading the team?
Yeah.
And then,
so there was an investment team, and I was leading the finance team.
Okay.
And so effectively, I became the CFO of that group.
Okay.
And then I also helped them, US मा चाहिँ broker dealer भन्ने हुन्छ. So I also helped them become a broker dealer. And then my role became more and more like, compliance officer, financial officer. I was handling all of these audits with the OCC and SEC, and then I got bored. Okay, this was in 2017. I got bored. And then I was talking to my wife, Nami. She was at Twitter at that point, like, let's do something. She was also getting bored at Twitter because she, joined Twitter through another startup company that was acquired by Twitter. And then we're like, let's do something. And then the idea of Harvest came in, and then we both left our corporate jobs and then, jumped in full time.
त्यो ट्रिकी भएन दाइ त्यो डिसिजन कि दुईजनाले नै जब छोडेर किन
Very tricky. And, people called me like stupid. Why are you, leaving this amazing role? And, people, lifetime body, just position they work for it, and, कस्तो like it wasn't at that point. I mean, we have done enough. And this was say financially as well as career perspective.
Saving otherwise.
Yeah, and then we're like, you know what? Let's take a chance. I'm like 33, and freshly married, right? If we don't do it now, there's just not going to be time for me to do it. And I just don't want to be, like when I'm in 60s and 70s, I don't want to regret that decision that I didn't take that leap of faith and then just went and built something one day. So that basically triggered that decision. And then, we just basically jumped in and started Harvest.
But then, entrepreneurial journey, we can also track it back.
Yeah, so in 2017, I helped start Nepal Tea Collective, which, runs, my brother runs it, Nistal. But, he has done an amazing job to company run. I'm just like, passive, behind the back, helping him. But he's the one who's doing all of that. And then I also tried to start like something, way back, like 2007, 8 company. And I failed US Bay. I failed miserably. So it was the whole, tea idea as well that I wanted to like, help Nepal go, teas US ma lagera, like, try to sell it, cutting the middleman. Same thing that Nepal Tea Collective is doing right now. But I realized at that time I tried to do this part-time, and then whenever you start a company, part-time does not work. You have to like, go in full-time, 110%. Without that, it's difficult. So that was a good learning lesson for me, because my family, they're all kind of like an entrepreneurs. My dad never had a job in his entire life in Nepal. अनि त्यो घरबाट पनि मेरो दिदीहरू पनि अरूहरू पनि they're all entrepreneurs. So I don't think anybody has a job right now. हाम्रो चाहिँ 7 siblings, 8 siblings in total. And none of them has like a full-time job. Everybody has like something in the family. So it's a very entrepreneurial type of family. And my wife pani त्यस्तै. अनि त्यो भएर चाहिँ I always wanted to start something US ma. Just the timing wasn't right. I tried to do it, I failed, and then there's a lesson that I learned. And this was okay. If I do it again, I have to do this full time. And then I took some time, and then when I started to do this in 2018, it was like full time, 110%. Let's give it like about a year and see what it goes.
You the harvest ko context ma because you were in bank and to bank ko to documents
yeah, it helped. Yeah, it definitely helped because it was around fintech. It was around our initial goal चाहिँ we're actually building like a investment management broker dealer business for retail को लागि easily investable गर्न मिल्ने womenहरुको लागि भनेर. So it was very relevant to what I was doing at City. I know how to like start an investment management business, but we wanted to automate that. That's where Nami would come in, and with her product manager background, she's more technical, I'm more finance, and it was a perfect recipe for us to do it, right? And the domain knowledge definitely helped. But we did not start with that, the negotiation idea from day one. It's something that we pivoted within 3 months. And that's a lesson for everybody, right? Because you can't be stuck to your idea all along. You have to look for opportunities. And, if you find something, and, if the pivoting of the idea makes sense, you have to do it.
So one thing leads to other.
Exactly.
So you, the Niural ma चाहिँ कसरी पुग्नु भयो? I think
the
fintech पनि छ त्यसमा हैन.
So Niural चाहिँ के भयो भने both Nami and I had this, in 2017, like, we almost started like a payments business, blockchain based payment business भनेर.
After harvest?
Before harvest, starting before harvest, like we had that idea. And Nami was looking at like, your blockchain engineers, there were none in US. And your Estonia, you couldn't really trust them. Okay? So the world wasn't global at that time. And Nepal so and blockchain was really, really early at that time. And in Neural idea, she was also passionate about payments. I was also passionate about payments. We wanted to build a global company that not just in the US, globally, and your payments, we wanted to do something around payments.
ट्विटरमा पनि पेमेन्टकै वरिपरि केही गर्नुभएको थियो र
Twitterमा होइन हार्भेस्टमा चाहिँ we had this entire fintech, right? Harvest was fintech, so and then she was fascinated about payments way before that as well.
Okay.
So we were like, okay, payments business the गर्ने, but then we can't compete with banks, right? Your payments bank was just the bhayena. So we need to look for bigger use case. What's the biggest use case in payments? We bump into payroll.
तर हार्भेस्ट गर्दाखेरि पनि त न्यू ब्याङ्कको आइडिया
त्यो चाहिँ युएसमा मात्रै डोमेस्टिक भयो होइन दिस इज लाइक ग्लोबल राइट क्रस बोर्डर अनि हाम्रो गोल चाहिँ लाइक क्रस बोर्डर गर्ने थियो कि लाइक आई थिङ्क देयर लट्स अफ इस्युज इन द क्रस बोर्डर पेमेन्ट्समा स्पेसली इन द B2B साइडमा एन्ड द्याट्स वर वी वान्टेड टु फोकस अनि मैले चाहिँ सो इन बिट्विन आइभ अल्सो वर्क एट इन हेड अफ सेल्स एन्ड स्ट्राटेजी फर वान अफ द लार्जेस्ट यो पेरोल टाइप कम्पनी ग्लोबली दे अपरेट इन 200 डिफ्रेन्ट कन्ट्रिजमा अनि तिनीहरूको इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर देखेको थिएँ कि मैले लाइक देयर लाइक एभ्रिथिङ इज म्यानुअल दे डिडन्ट ह्याभ देयर ओन टेक्नोलोजी धेरै पेमेन्ट्सहरू सबै ब्याङ्कबाट गर्ने होइन सो एन्ड वी लुक्ड इन टु मोर एन्ड मोर एन्ड यो पेरोल भन्ने बिजनेस चाहिँ इट्स बिग एभ्री कम्पनी इज गन निड इट राइट एभ्री कम्पनी निड्स टु ह्याभ पेरोल स्यालेरी पेमेन्ट्स यो भेन्डर पेमेन्ट्सहरू बट देन यो इन्डस्ट्री चाहिँ इट्स बोरिङ वान राइट एन्ड इट्स डिफिकल्ट टु बिल्ड इट्स भेरी माइन्युसा डिटेल्स हुन्छ and then your cross-border payments build garदाखेरि चाहिँ you need to work with banks यताउता and you need to have some knowledge how this industry works like regulations compliance यताउताहरू पनि without that it's going to be very difficult for somebody new to come in and do it अनि यो payroll पनि it's an industry that hasn't been disrupted in like over 100 years you look at largest company on payroll side ADP they started 70 years ago still the number one company and there are like countless examples like that. Okay? And we talk to people like nobody likes ADP. Nobody says good things about ADP, right?
Interface,
UI, manual nature, like there's like it's very backward. 1980s technology use there are other companies that have come up, but then they are very focused on like one product. And our idea is let's build a company, especially after pandemic. Face so companies are global. Even 5% company is global. US they hire contractors in Asia, Latin America, they have vendors, they have co-founders. We wanted to build something that very modern. And your business they can just use one tool to do everything. Just the US and US salary benefits international employee international contractor vendor payment even कि उनीहरूको कस्टमरहरूलाई बिलिङ गरेर कलेक्ट गर्ने पनि we power that in one platform. त्यो गर्यो भने के भयो भन्दाखेरि we provide them an amazing HR and payroll platform, but then we are capturing the payments in and payments out. And that's where we can make money on FX. Right? And so त्यो भएर चाहिँ हामीले यो फर्स्ट चाहिँ पेमेन्टको इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर बिल्ड गर्यौँ and then we added use case on top of that. कम्पनीहरूलाई चाहिँ के चाहिन्छ भनेर payroll US-मा international. We also built like US को payroll engine which is when you think about it, it's like a monumental effort because they have like 23,000 tax codes in US. It's like insane. A lot of people start building a payroll company after 3 months they just give up. It's like so minutia detail, so difficult. But then we basically said, you know what, let's build this for 2 years because we want to build this for long term. The goal is not to like build something quickly and sell it to someone else. This is like we want to give it 10 years and build a generational company. And that was the thought process behind this.
Okay. Do you say was that one of the major difference, mindset difference when you started Harvest and when you started Niural?
Absolutely, because as a second time founder, you are very wise. And the second time founder like it's not about the money anymore. It's about I want to do something that maybe मरेर गयो भने there's legacy भने जस्तो के अनि हाम्रो चाहिँ के पनि भयो नि अब obviously I lived in US and worked in US for almost like 20 years. So why not build a company that utilizes US र नेपाल बसेर नेपालको ट्यालेन्ट युज गरेर let's show the world like नेपालको ट्यालेन्ट चाहिँ के गर्न सक्छ भनेर. So हाम्रो entire founding team is all Nepalese.
Okay.
Right? So our two founding engineers are also Nepalकै ho. I mean, obviously they went to US and they've done really, really well. But we have the entire founding team in Nepalकै, and we've got funding from amazing VCs in the US, and we basically raised money on a piece of paper with our idea that this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to disrupt, and then we started building and hiring people.
Why did you why did you raise capital सुरुमै? किन भन्दाखेरि I think with an exit you must have some good funding on by yourself. अनि अब सेकेन्ड टाइम फाउन्डर भइसकेपछि त यसलाई अलिकति स्केल गरेर फन्ड अझै बिगर चेक लिन मिल्थ्यो भन्ने भएको थिएन?
Absolutely. युएसमा चाहिँ कस्तो हुन्छ नि, that's a main difference between US र नेपालमा चाहिँ के नेपाल, I mean not even Nepal, like Asia or US, Southeast Asia or US-मा. US-मा चाहिँ there are VCs that are willing to fund the idea, right? And especially they are funding the founders and their idea, not necessarily the product के छ भनेर अहिले हैन. So seed, pre-seed भनेको it's just the funding based on the idea and what they are saying they can do. And if they have some experience in the past and they have done it, and that's what they're banking on. So हामीले चाहिँ के गर्यो, because we're building this like such a enormous, complex, compound startup, we needed to have enough capital to be able to like sustain for like number of years. Economic downturn you can never predict. हैन, त्यसमा पनि नहोस् भनेर we needed to raise like large enough capital. We also needed like a large team to be able to execute on this. And the goal was like for 2 years, we're just going to build. And you don't find, even founders in the US will basically tell you, like, I'm going to build for 2 years and then go to market. But because of our, background and what we have done in prior companies, what we have accomplished in our prior, careers, त्यो अलिकति सजिलो भयो. Like we raised somewhere around like $12 million within a week, and for some of the iconic investors US-मा on a piece of paper, and then that gave us the confidence because this is a big idea that we're tackling. And then we started doing that, and the reason for that is your business-मा चाहिँ we need to have like banking partners, we need to have lots of partners. If you don't have a good funding, they won't even trust you.
Okay.
And like if you go to a bank and they're like, I need a banking as a service with your license, if you don't have a funding from good investors, if you don't have a good profile, good luck. You can't do it.
अनि त्यो license expensive पनि हुन्छ?
Very expensive. Very expensive. You have to do a lot of AML compliance. Like there are other things that we have to build in order to गर्न like because Niural भित्र हामीले के गर्यो भने we've built like a mini bank अहिले. So we can literally pop out banking accounts, credit card, debit cards tomorrow. So we have already built that infrastructure because US-मा चाहिँ त्यहाँ MTL रुल्सहरु भन्ने हुन्छ, यो funds flow भन्ने, यो के कसलाई के गर्ने, कुन use केसलाई गर्ने भनेर. So we needed to build a structure that supported all of the use case. अनि हामीले चाहिँ सुरुबाटै एकदम मजाले plan गरेर अनि build गर्यौं के. So for that we needed a funding. Not only funding, we needed like really good validation. Yes.
So what's the North Star that you will go? Where are you heading?
That's a good question. So North Star is, listen, we don't know, what, it will become, but we are very excited about the opportunity here. अहिले पनि हामी गएर like, we talk to investors, partners, like they don't believe what we have already built.
Okay.
Right? We have 7 products live and actually have clients. And it's a lot, it's a lot that we have done in 2 years. And like I said, from the very beginning, the North Star is, let's build a company using Nepalko talent. Let's take this company public. And then, basically, make it our goal is like, why not make it $100 billion business, right? We could, because the TAM is there. What we are, kun sector ma हामी operate गर्छौं, it's very true. It could be doable. So हाम्रो ambition चाहिँ एकदमै ठुलो छ, but we will see, right? But goal ambition त राख्न पाइयो नि, right? So I mean, $100 billion ko bhayera we get to like $10 billion, still great, right? But that's our ambition, and we're committed to like giving 110% for the next 5-7 years to get there, and we'll see. We'll give it our best. Nobody can predict the outcome, but we're very, so far, we're very committed. And we're seeing a lot of traction already in the market.
अनि यो हजुरको इन्डस्ट्री त आई थिंक अलिकति सिक्युरिटी स्पेसिफिक वरिपरि पनि छ नि त हैन, अनि अलिकति क्रिटिकल डेटाहरु छ, अनि यस्तो कामहरु चाहिँ युएसको जियोग्राफीभन्दा बाहिर बसेर गर्न सजिलै पाइन्छ?
सो हामीले यो टेक स्ट्याकहरू चाहिँ सबै युएसकै युज गर्छौँ लाइक एडब्लुएसदेखि लिएर सबै चाहिँ हाम्रो युएसमै हुन्छ त्यो सिक्युरिटीहरू त्यो पिआइआई डेटाहरूदेखि लिएर सबै त्यही नै छ अनि हामीले वान वी हायर्ड आवर 2 टेक्निकल लिड होइन वी हायर्ड somebody who had a payment background and then we hired somebody who had a security background because security is also very very key in this business like you doing payroll somebody goes salary we have their social security number we have their personal all the personal information and plus payments ma pani we're moving hundreds of millions of dollars already so we needed to have an amazing security protocol as well तर यो चाहिँ सबै everything is stored in US को उ भित्र नै यहाँ नेपालको टिमले चाहिँ काम गर्छ VPNहरू युज गरेर like there's a security protocol that we have developed.
अनि when you say I want to build this company with Nepali talents, what do you mean by that? I mean like अब आउने majority hiring नै नेपालमा हुने?
No. What we did was, when we started the company, we hired, 2 lead engineers from the Nepal. Nepali नै हो. We came to Nepal त्यति बेला.
उतै हायर गर्नु हो कि यहाँ?
उतै हायर गर्यो, US मा हायर गर्यो. All 4 of us, we came to Nepal in 2022. We set up, office building here. We hired about 18 people. Like हाम्रो product manager, they are from Nepal. Amro, every other engineer, back end, front end, blockchain, payments, AI, they're all in Nepal right now. So 4% founding team, but everybody were in Nepal up until like in the beginning of the year. About beginning of the year, we went to market, then we started hiring salespeople, marketing people, but majority of the 90% of our, 99% of our tech and product team is Nepal.
अनि अहिले फाउन्डिङ इन्जिनियर्सहरू नेपाली बसेर काम गर्नुहुन्छ कि उतै बसेर काम गर्नुहुन्छ?
I mean, they come here every 6 months. They work very, very closely. But yeah, we only have like 3 lead engineers in the US. Out of 32, I think we have like 27, 28 of them out here.
के छ त हजुरको perception towards Nepali talent?
No, it's great. I think, Nepali talent has come a long way. And what we have found, पहिलाको कम्पनीमा नि we try to use नेपालकै यो टिमहरू अलिकति मिलेन because at that time I think maybe there was like a little bit of a cultural issues harvestको बेला education issues so हामीले चाहिँ युक्रेनको ट्यालेन्ट युज गरेर कम्पनी बिल्ड गर्यौँ त्यति बेला हैन अहिले चाहिँ के भयो भने नेपाल पनि स्लोली यो सर्भिस इन्डस्ट्रीबाट प्रोडक्टतिर गइरहेछ के because there are like what 60-70,000 contractors they work for foreign companies in Nepal बसेरै अनि they are building amazing product. There are other companies, Nepali companies or US मा बाहिरबाट भएको they are also building actual end-to-end product हैन पहिला चाहिँ अब यो सबै के भन्छ नेपालको यो लिफरगहरू अरु जुन उहाँहरूले हुन्थ्यो राम्रो गर्नु भएको थियो तर they are doing like a project space मा हैन अनि they are also building product but not for like themselves they're building for other companies अनि अब अहिले चाहिँ like what does it mean to build like an end-to-end product that and you are taking that to market yourself. त्यसको लागि चाहिँ not just engineering को know how, you also need to know business use case. You also need like the feedback loop हुन्छ नि त्यो मार्केटबाट. You need to be able to reiterate product very fast हैन. त्यस्तो कुराहरू चाहिँ we are seeing more and more people नेपालमा त्यो ट्यालेन्ट नेपालको टेक ट्यालेन्टहरुमा चाहिँ अहिले देखेको छौं के. अनि पहिला चाहिँ अलिकति के भयो भने उनीहरुको चाहिँ त्यो रिगर जुन हुन्छ नि जुन like was missing. त्यो चाहिँ I think now we're अब अरु कम्पनीहरुले पनि यहाँ काम दिएर उ गरेर हैन so we're starting to see more and more of that. So there's like only 5 or 10% difference between a good engineer and a 10x engineer. Okay, our goal is they're already 90%. Our goal is really to make them like a 10x engineer by helping them with that last 10%. And how do we do that? To rigor. Like know-how, business in acumen, like what you are building, how does that impact customers? भन्ने यो कुराहरु चाहिँ US को इन्जिनियर्सहरुमा चाहिँ धेरै हुन्छ. So that's what lack यहाँ नेपालमा चाहिँ त्यस्तो लाग्छ मलाई. तर that could be fixable, right? हामीले यहाँ आएर we basically एक महिनासम्म त we basically did like a business course के US को सिस्टम यसरी काम गर्छ, payroll यसरी हुन्छ, बैंकको ACH यसरी हुन्छ. So we taught all of them त्यो ट्रेनिङ चाहिँ गरेपछि चाहिँ they're writing much better code, they're writing faster code, and then that helped a lot for them. And त्यो चाहिँ I think if they get an opportunity to build like an end-to-end product, I think they'll do amazing.
Like you recently एउटा यो IIDS ले एउटा इन्फर्मेसन रिलिज गरेको थियो नि half $1 billion को चाहिँ ट्रान्जेक्सन भइरहेको छ भनेर त्यसले पनि बाहिर बसेको डायस्पोरालाई चाहिँ ट्रस्ट फ्याक्टर बिल्ड भएको हो कि यति ठुलो रेभेन्यू भइरहेको छ भने त I think I can go back and build things
Yes.
with the existing engineers भनेर त्यसले पनि कतै कतै डायस्पोरामा चेन्ज ल्यायो
एब्सोल्युटली अहिले चाहिँ अब नेपालको मान्छेहरू पनि धेरै अन्टरप्रेन्योरियल स्पिरिट भएको मान्छेहरू छ नि त पहिलेदेखि होइन अनि सो अहिले चाहिँ युएसमा पनि बाहिर पनि मान्छेहरूले कस्तो भने दे हेभ वर्क फर 5-10 इयर्स होइन दे आर स्टार्टिङ कम्पनीज के अनि दे अल एन्ड एक्चुली नेपालमा बसेर कम्पनी स्टार्ट गर्नु भनेर त मैले भनेको थिएँ नि पहिला पनि इट्स ए कम्पेरिटिभ एडभान्टेज होइन युएसमा बसेर कम्पनी स्टार्ट गर्ने भए यु हेभ टु वरी अबाउट रेन्ट यु हेभ टु वरी अबाउट फुड होइन एन्ड इट्स एक्सपेन्सिभ नेपालमा त यु क्यान स्टे मम ड्याडको घरमा बसेर 9 महिना 1 वर्षसम्म बसेर कम्पनी सुरु गर्न पनि मिल्यो होइन त्यो नलेज ग्याप त श्रिङ्किङ एभ्री सिङ्गल डे नाउ दे क्यान गो युट्युब दे क्यान टेक अनलाइन कोर्स होइन कोडहरू लाइक गर्नलाई त इट्स इजी सो त्यो भएर चाहिँ अहिले आइ एम सिइङ मोर एन्ड मोर यो बाहिर बसेर पनि कम्पनी सुरु गर्ने नेपालमा आएर भनेर देयर इज अ लट अफ द्याट गोइङ अन राइट नाउ विच इज रियली ग्रेट फर नेपालको लागि कि पहिला चाहिँ अब अलिक प्रोजेक्ट बेस सर्भिस बेस भएको थियो अब अहिले चाहिँ एक्चुअल आफ्नै कम्पनी बिल्ड गर्ने भनेर आइ एम सिइङ मोर एन्ड मोर अफ द्याट
त त्यसको त्यो बोटलनेक चाहिँ बिजनेस नुहाउने हो कि
यु हेभ टु लाइक अलिकति डोमेनको नलेज हुनुपर्छ कि
त्यो चाहिँ फेरि नेपाल बसेर जस्तै फर इक्जाम्पल म नेपालमा बसिरहेको छु भने चाहिँ म त नेपालकै इकोसिस्टमसँग घुलमिल भइरहेको हुन्छु सो मलाई त्यो इट्स थाहा हुँदैन नि त होइन अब जहाँ बस्यो त्यसैको इट्स आइडेन्टिफाई हुने हो सो ग्लोबल प्रोडक्ट बिल्ड गर्नको लागि अब ग्लोबल भन्ने बित्तिकै अहिलेको लागि युएस इज अ ग्लोबल मार्केट होइन युएसमा यदि कुनै कुरा भ्यालिड हुन्छ भने त्यो संसारभरि चल्छ भन्ने भयो भनेपछि त नेपालमा बसेर युएसको कम्पनी बिल्ड गर्छु भने त गाह्रै हो कि है फेरि किन
एब्सोल्युटली सो चाहिँ त्यो चाहिँ म के भन्छु भने लाइक इन माई एडभाइस चाहिँ के हो भने देयर इज अलवेज कम्पनी बिल्ड गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ आई अलवेज सजेस्ट मान्छेहरूलाई टिम चाहियो कि लाइक यु निड अ को फाउन्डर एन्ड देयर इज कपल अफ रिजन्स फर द्याट होइन एउटा चाहिँ इट्स अ भेरी लोनली जर्नी है यु निड समबडी टु टक टु होइन यु हेभ टु द्याट्स नम्बर 1 नम्बर 2 चाहिँ अब यो लट अफ त हुन्छ नि अरू अब जस्तो इजरायलको इन्डियाको मान्छेहरूले पनि के गर्छ भने फाउन्डरहरूले दे हेभ अ टेक्निकल फाउन्डर एन्ड दे हेभ अ नन टेक्निकल फाउन्डर नन टेक्निकल फाउन्डर इज द वान द्याट नोज बिजनेस नो हाउ युज केस हुन्छ नि अब कम्पनी लाइक बिल्ड गर्छु भनेर प्रडक्ट मात्रै बिल्ड गर्न त इट्स इजी राइट यु हेभ टु बी एबल टु लाइक सेल द्याट प्रडक्ट इन द मार्केट होइन अनि त्यो मार्केटमा सेल गर्नलाई चाहिँ यु निड टु नो लाइक वाट आर द प्रब्लम द्याट यु आर सल्भिङ मैले कस्तो पनि देख्छु भने कतिजनाहरू चाहिँ दे जस्ट जम्प इन टु प्रडक्ट विच इजी टु बिल्ड बट देन विदाउट रियलाइजिङ इट्स एक्चुली नट कन हेल्प लाइक द मार्केटमा भ्यालिडेसन हुँदैन सो त्यो आइडेन्टिफाई गर्न चाहिँ अलिकति कि त अब इन्भेस्ट गर्नु पऱ्यो होइन ओके म चाहिँ एउटा सेक्टरमा युएसको यसमा बिल्ड गर्छु भनेर देन यु स्टडी द्याट लाइक फाइन्ड एभ्रिथिङ एन्ड एनिथिङ अबाउट द्याट राइट गो टक टु पिपल like लिङ्क्डइनमा गएर उमा गएर रिच आउट टु पिपल ह्याभ लाइक अनलाइन कन्भर्सेसन त्यो चाहिँ युएसमा धेरै हुन्छ कि बिकज द रिजन युएसमा अन्टरप्रेन्योरहरूले बाहिरको फिल्डबाट आएर पनि दे स्टार्ट इज दे टक टु हन्ड्रेड्स अफ पिपल नेपाल एसियामा चाहिँ के छ भने मेरो आइडिया चाहिँ एकदमै अर्कोलाई भन्यो भने लग्छ कि त्यसले भन्ने खालको त्यो कन्सेप्ट रहेछ कि कन्सेप्ट हुन्छ सो पिपल आर अफ्रेड टु गो टक टु पिपल एन्ड द्याट्स द ओन्ली वे यु क्यान लर्न होइन देन यु नो लाइक के मिसिङ छ त त्यहाँ के चाहिँ प्रब्लम छ भनेर बिकज यु हेभ टु आइडेन्टिफाई अ प्रब्लम बिफोर यु स्टार्ट बिल्डिङ फर इट त्यो गर्नलाई चाहिँ अलिकति युएसको थाहा हुनु पऱ्यो कि त अरू मान्छेहरूलाई कुरा गर्नु पऱ्यो कि त यहाँ बस्ने टेक्निकल फाउन्डर छ भने युएसमा भएको युएसबाट फर्केको चाहिँ अर्को बिजनेसको फाउन्डर भयो भने आई थिङ्क द्याट विल डु ट्रिमेन्डसली वेल फर देम
अनि आई थिङ्क हजुरहरूको केसमा पनि जस्तै फर इक्जाम्पल इफ ट्रेनिङ यो इन्टरनल टेक्निकल टिम्स विथ बिजनेस नो हाउ भोलिको दिनमा त उनीहरूमा ट्रान्सफर भइसक्यो नि त होइन नेक्स्ट 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 इयर्समा त मेबी सम अफ विल कम आउट एन्ड स्टार्ट देयर ओन थिङ
एब्सोल्युटली अनि हामीले चाहिँ नेपालको टिममा पनि वी हेभ हायर्ड लट अफ एक्स अन्टरप्रेन्योर्स नेपालमै प्रडक्ट बिल्ड गरेकोहरू मेजोरिटी अफ देम टोल्ड मी लाइक बिल्डिङ प्रडक्ट इज इजी तर हाउ डु वी गो टु मार्केट लाइक हाउ डु वी सेल द्याट प्रडक्ट हाउ डु वी स्केल that's what they wanted to learn with us, okay? And which is a great thing, right? Because that's kind of what's missing while in Nepal ma chai. Like technical talents or technical product builder like ke bhayena, they need to be able to sell that product. Think about outside of Nepal. Nepal is Nepal ma pani like there are tons of company who have done well, like called the eSeva, like F1 Shop, right? But then they are an exception rather than norm. Outliers, right? And त्यसको त probability the like it's less than 1%, right? So you don't want to take a risk building a company where you have a 1% probability of success. You want to reverse that, right? And how do you reverse that? Start building companies that have other use cases. And a lot of companies in India, what they do? They go to US, they look at companies, how can I use that in India? And they go and build it. But India the huge markets are. तर I've also seen like Latin America पनि त्यही भइरहेछ अनि there's also market in Nepal like यो धेरैवटा आइडियाजहरू छ के like that can be implemented in Nepal and that could be big as well. So त्यो पनि if they want to stay in Nepal and build for Nepal, I think that's what I would suggest होइन B2B मा B2C मा के चाहिँ what's the new norm कसरी चलिरहेछ होइन how can we make the यो B2B or B2C को trade investments whatever better. So they need to spend a little bit of time researching before they jump in.
आई डोन्ट नो यो क्वेसन कतिको रेलिभेन्ट हुन्छ आजको दिनमा होइन तर लाइक एज अ साउथ एसियन होइन हजुरलाई चाहिँ सेल्स साइड त हजुरले हेरिराख्नु भएको छ नि त होइन त्यहाँ हजुरलाई कतिको गाह्रो सजिलो के भयो
धेरै गाह्रो भयो because I've never done sales in my life previous to like यो company start गर्दाखेरि and what I did was, and this is also important, right? Sometimes you have to take like one step back before you take two step forward भनेको. So I was a CF, I was a technical person, right? I could talk to people, high level people. When I left city and then harvest पछि चाहिँ I actually यो harvest को चाहिँ because we're doing like something different होइन अनि मैले चाहिँ के गरेँ भने I actually took a sales role के at TMF भन्ने कम्पनीमा अर्कै कम्पनीमा and they were allowing me to like continue with harvest whatnot होइन and the reason for that is at some point I had this idea like we're gonna start another big company or even for harvest somebody has to do sales right and I have never done sales before so a lot of people thought I was like crazy going from what I did before to actually selling. I wanted to try it myself right and as a founder if you can't sell it then you don't have a business, you are the best salesperson. अनि मैले चाहिँ so I took that role, I became pretty successful pretty fast and I took over the entire sales team and that gave me a confidence के अनि I learned some skills like यो के भन्छ prospecting गर्ने यो reach out गर्ने हुन्छ नि त्यस्तो चाहिँ I didn't have it before. It was too easy for me because I was at the top. I can just order people and it will happen होइन अनि I actually learned that trade भनौँ न
के रहेछ
त्यो चाहिँ one you have to be humble and then you have to reach out to people. The worst they can do is say no. Exactly, right? The worst, that's it. If you get those two hurdles, mental hurdles, I think you'll do fine in sales.
Why would you say these are mental hurdles and not?
Oh, these are absolutely mental hurdles because people have inertia. They procrastinate. They're like, oh, you garum ki na garum. What is he gonna say? Like people have all kinds of excuses. And these are all mental excuses. The moment you basically said, you know what, I'm going to just reach out to them and I'm mentally prepared that the answer is going to be no. यो सेल्समा पनि सेल्स नगरेको मान्छेहरूको के हुन्छ भने थिङ चाहिँ मैले रिच आउट गरेँ त्यसले एन्सर गर्ने भन्ने हुन्छ कि the reply rate is like 2%. Like if you send 100 emails, you expect 2 back, So
and then even when they reply, you expect it, they say yes to your offer, right?
Exactly, yeah. And that's even like 20% out of that. So think about how many reach outs. It's a hard work, right? It's a hard work, and you have to be creative. You have to find different angles to reach out to people. Try to find like people in your network, make it warm intro. Like there are tons of different things that you learn, okay? अनि त्यो चाहिँ I was exposed to that because I haven't done that before, right?
गाह्रो होइन सुरुमा
सुरुमा त गाह्रो नि लाग्यो. I was like, why am I even doing this? Right? So, but then I passed that mental hurdle because I like okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give it myself 6 months. I'm gonna try this. If it doesn't work, I can always go back, but I have to try this one. So त्यो भएपछि चाहिँ easier भयो. And then now I lead the Niural sales team. We have about, and I did everything like up until like first $1 million. I did every single sale.
Okay. Now my question is, do you ever realize that things are tougher to you because like you are South Asian, your skin is brown? This to realize भयो कि भएन?
छ त्यो पनि छ. There is that bias पनि छ हैन. So त्यो चाहिँ मैले पहिला कम्पनीमा रियलाइज गरेको, अहिले कम्पनीमा रियलाइज गरेको. And but that just I feel like that's an excuse, हैन. So but there is certain bias like and I'll give you a very good example. Just the मेरो टिममा पनि म यो चाहिँ नेपालीमै भन्छु है so that मेरै टिममा पनि मैले रिच आउट गरेर एकजना मेरो टिमबाट चाहिँ एकजना लाइक हुन्छ नि US को मान्छेले रिच आउट गरे भने they are more likely to get a response than I am. त्यो चाहिँ छ.
Okay, even as a founder.
Even as a founder. त्यो चाहिँ छ है त्यो I'm not going to lie, that exists. But your tech much less, as you go to like a more old school company or that exists. And I've realized that in prior companies as well. And you have to work with that, right? You have to work with the constraints, right? You can't change that. You can't change people mentality, but you have to work around that.
At least when you are in sales,
Right.
you,
I mean,
you can fight the market.
Exactly, right. You can't really fight the market, but you have to go around the market, right? And you can always like, okay, maybe somebody can introduce me to that person, right? Or maybe I can just, offer him a lunch. Maybe, we do like some sort of event and invite that person. Like, once you build that connection, it's easier, right? And people,
these are different angles.
These absolutely, yeah. These are different angles. You can bombard them with email. You can cold call. That's the other thing I found. I suck at cold call. And some people are really good at cold call. Like we have a couple of people in our team and they just like all day long on the phone, right? And they're getting people and, they do really well. Right? My strength isn't really cold call, but my strength always has been like, okay, if somebody brings me to the conversations, I'm very good at closing. Like, I'm very good at closing because I know the technical how. Plus, as a founder, right, I can go in basically promise all kinds of things and then basically close the deal. But then the first million for this Niural business, I brought it in. I did everything. It gave me an opportunity to basically say what works, what does not work. It also helped me get that feedback really, really fast from the market, and then incorporate that into the product, and then tweak the product, add some features. It just helped me build like a competitive intel. And then once I have that foundation, then I can hire a ton of salespeople and go replicate that, right? Because then I know the formula, what works. Some companies, they, without like, proving that, they go and do it. And then that's a recipe for disaster.
You product side technology side ma innovation bhaye pani you sales side is still old school. I mean, like you have to do that very one-on-one, personalized.
Yeah, and absolutely. It also depends on what industry you are operating, right? Or your tech go like if it's a product, you are pitching to like developer, then there's a different way of getting that traction, like a developer conference and some different marketing and all that. Yeah, हाम्रो businessमा चाहिँ like because this is like an old school type of business, and even though there are tech companies, but there are VP of finance, CFOs, COOs, HR people, right? And then they're like service companies, right? त्यसमा चाहिँ certain amount of your emailing यताउता पनि works. LinkedIn obviously, we have a whole stack and we send thousands of email, right? They come to our website. We know exactly who came. There's like tons of different things that we do from intelligence, to perspective. We also use AI to be able to personalize things. But the cold call works really well in our business, right? You pick up a phone and call. They are actually our SDR team, they are booking more meetings through cold call than anything else. So yeah,
eventually deal चाहिँ physical meeting बाट नि हुन्छ.
Yeah, physical meeting चाहिँ अब कस्तो भयो भने अहिले अब people work remotely यताउता अनि हामीले चाहिँ के पनि गर्छौँ भने we also do a lot of events, we go to conferences, we actually meet people. If you meet people, I think the chances of closing a deal just goes super high. So that physical the interaction हुन्छ नि, that really helps, okay? Because we kind of have like this personal bond, and sales ma ke ho भने like you are convincing other people to basically pay for your product, right? And sometimes, yes, you have a product, but it's something else as well that helps them like get over that hump, right? Sometimes it's the personality, character, company, whatever. Yes, you are solving a problem, but they may not like you, right? There's all kinds of things that goes into that decision making process.
Do you ever think you'll invest on sales team from Nepal? Nepal mein sales team राखेर
Yeah, I've done it. We have like 3% sales team in Nepal. We have a marketing team in Nepal. We have operations team in Nepal. We have treasury payments team in Nepal.
And when they call, do they act like they're calling from somewhere in the US, or they act like they're calling from Nepal?
त्यसमा चाहिँ अलिकति pseudonym राख्नुपर्छ, Anglo pseudonym हैन, but we have people calling from Nepal to US companies right now.
So pseudo number, the Google ko to US ko number sorry लिन मिल्छ नि,
right,
virtual number.
Yeah, that's what we do. That's what we do. Yeah.
But you don't let them know कि you are calling.
Exactly.
From,
that's
how it works.
That's how it works. And you have to do what works, right? But we have like one of the goal of Niural was यहाँ चाहिँ product and engineering team मात्रै होइन कि I wanted them to see the entire end-to-end process के sales ले कसरी गर्छ, marketing ले कसरी गर्छ, operations, customer support. We have account managers here. So how do they handle client conversations? How do let them see everything, because my goal is in 4 to 5 years, these people that are in Nepal start their own company, and the one thing that they got out of Niural is not only build products, like how to actually go to market, how to operate, right? Because as a founder, you have to operate the business, and operation means build the product, then you go to market. You need a sales motion, you need a customer support, like you need to solve, support customers. You also need to do marketing, which is, so they are exposed to everything.
अनि हजुरको अन्डरस्ट्यान्डिङ अनुसार चाहिँ नेपालमा अब त्यो मिसिङ पायो भनेको चाहिँ गो टु मार्केट स्ट्राटेजी, गो टु मार्केट एक्सपिरियन्स, गो टु मार्केट नो हाउ नै मिस हो, अरू थिङ्स आर सर्टेड होइन त?
I mean, for me, like, technical, like they can build. Like it's easy, I mean, there are certain things like they may not, like there are certain hurdles as well, like, which could be, overcome. Just having access to AWS US ma, like,
लेट्स से ब्याङ्कको
right,
लाइसेन्स,
exact bank license or like Nepal entity, but no, they like there are certain things like that, and that's why I say like partner with someone who knows there. I would encourage people to like start, set up companies in the US. Like US ma company set up, like you don't have to be US citizen, right? They look for, if you are building a global use case, right? Why start an entity or set up company in Nepal? Like why don't you set up a company in US? You actually get, or Singapore or Cayman or Dubai, right? Because they actually have more access to capital. And I know tons of investors, they would not invest in a Nepal entity, a Nepal Bitrako entity, because it's very difficult to like get the money out. Like there's all kinds of issues, political issues, other risk factor that they look at it, right? So take that out of your, out of the table, right? Make it easy for them. And then you have tons of pool capital that sits outside of Nepal, right? If you are truly building a global product, you can do that.
मैले उसको यो बुक पढेको थिएँ दाइ, हरिश मेहताको म्याभ इफेक्ट भन्ने, इन्डियाको न्यासकमहरूको होइन. अनि उसले चाहिँ के भन्थ्यो भन्दाखेरि उसले चाहिँ वाज इन्डिया रेडी फर इट्स प्रोडक्ट, इज इन्डिया रेडी फर इट्स प्रोडक्ट भन्ने चाहिँ एउटा टाइम लाइनमा आएर, अनि अ लट अफ अन्टरप्रेन्योर्स वे बिल्डिङ के अरे प्रोजेक्ट फर युएस बेस्ड कम्पनीज, एन्ड दे took a U-turn and started building their own companies, own product भन्ने कन्टेक्स्टमा चाहिँ आई सो फिल कि नाउ इज द टाइम हेज केम इभन फर नेपालको लागि चाहिँ त्यो फेज आयो होइन. अनि सिइङ पिपल लाइक यु ओपनिङ अप हुन्छ नि होइन, अनि हुन्छ नि ओपन अप इन अ सेन्स कि यु वान्ट युर इम्प्लोइज टु बी गोइङ आउट इन 3 to 4 years and start their own companies होइन.
I will write the first check for them if they do that.
Okay. That's smart.
Right? No, it's really to basically help them like give that confidence, right? And that they can go ahead and do it. Yeah. No, to your question, I mean that's what India went through in early 2010, where it went from like service type of tech to like product building. I think that's happening in Nepal, and it always like accumulation of experience that leads to like something else, right? So 2000, I guess your last like 2015, 16, 17 ma Nepalma pani service based like a project ल्याएर गर्ने धेरै भयो. Now they've seen it, like they built product for other companies, right? And then now people are starting to realize like, hey, I actually can do the same thing. Nepalमै बसेर अथवा बाहिर बसेर. So that is like slowly that effect is coming in Nepalma pani. Now I mean this year, like you look at how many companies that have started from Nepal, and Nepal is outside of Nepal, right? So that will continue to go up, and then that's the service मा जुन काम गरेर अहिले जुन एक्सपिरियन्स भएर like I think that gave them the confidence, and I think that happened in India in early 2000, mid 2000, and that's happening in Nepal right now.
अनि अर्को नेपालमा रन गरिरहेको टेक सर्भिसेस कम्पनीहरू जो राम्रो गरिराख्नु छ उहाँहरूको कुरा सुन्दाखेरि पनि आई थिङ्क अझै पेन पोइन्ट चाहिँ सर्भिस इन्डस्ट्रीमा पनि पेन पोइन्ट चाहिँ के छ भन्दाखेरि जो बाहिर इस्टाब्लिस भयो र जसले नेपाललाई ब्याक अफिस क्रिएट गर्यो त्यो त अब ट्रुली नेपाली कम्पनी भएन होइन. तर नेपालमै के अरे बर्न एन्ड रेज्ड र बिल्ड कम्पनीजहरू चाहिँ तिनीहरूलाई चाहिँ सेल्स साइडमा चाहिँ दे आर स्टिल ह्याभिङ टफ टाइम बाहिर, अनि दे हेभ टु डिपेन्ड अन एजेन्सिजहरू होइन, अरू थर्ड पार्टी सेल्स पिपलहरू. आफ्नै सेल्स टिम बिल्ड गर्नको लागि उहाँकै नेटिभ मान्छेहरू हायर गर्नको लागि चाहिँ नेपालको त पोलिसी चाहिँ अहिले पनि त्यो इभन इफ यु अर्निङ इन डलर्स, इट्स डिफिकल्ट टु टेक द डलर्स आउट एन्ड देन सेट अप legally, होइन, सेट अप एन्टिटी देयर, वान एन्टिटी के यदि नेपालमा एबिसी कम्पनी छन् एबिसी. त्यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ आई थिङ्क नेपाली टेक कम्पनीजहरू हु आर डुइङ फिनोमिनली वेल अन सर्भिस साइड आर स्टिल स्ट्रगलिङ टु स्केल because they can't seems to hire a sales team outside. Okay?
So that's very true. I mean, that's where government can really come in and step up, right? Because if they do well, it's good for Nepal. अनि यो कुराहरू चाहिँ अरू कन्ट्रीहरूले they have realized and they made these changes. के जस्तो when I was at in city, like back in 2009, I was part of like your Israel first innovation hub. Like city wanted to start a innovation hub in Israel. A lot of the companies were doing that because there's like tremendous talent. Israel also had like very similar thing. Your basically capital outflow ko लागि bhanera. But then they changed the laws, immediately because they saw like Israel could benefit massively. If they just allow Israeli entrepreneurs to like set up companies outside, don't restrict them on how to like हुन्छ नि त्यो capital गर्नको लागि भनेर. And then now look at after what 15 years, uh, every three company that go to public in US, one of them is Israeli company. So Nepal can really learn from that. I mean, you look at Singapore, even you look at India. India India is also very capital constrained with they're also allowing companies to like go outside of India. Even look at Chinese companies. China the very restrictive capital they also go, but they're also doing that, right? And there are companies in Latin America, like now you are seeing Mexico, Colombia, Argentina, Brazil, like they're also opening up. So you would say if Nepal wants your homegrown entrepreneurs to succeed and expand outside of Nepal, they have to fix this policy. I think it's like what 10% of revenue. That's nothing. That you want to help them scale, so they need to like
formalize wasn't जस्तो लाग्छ
so I don't know. I mean, that's the chatter I heard. But there's always like red tape. Okay, you have a policy भइसके पनि there's always very, very difficult. So you have to make this. You have to. Otherwise, what's going to happen? The talent is just going to move outside of Nepal.
अनि त्यो पोलिसी चेन्ज भयो भने सायद अघि हजुरले भन्नुभएको थियो नि जस्तै फर इक्जाम्पल त्यो पोलिसी चेन्ज भएपछि सायद नेपालमै कम्पनी खोल्यो भने पनि हुन्छ नि इन्भेस्टमेन्ट अट्र्याक्ट गर्न सकिएला यु डोन्ट रियली ह्याभ टु डु इट फ्रम दुबई या सिङ्गापुर के हैन कस्तो
I mean, that's somebody like अब अहिले चाहिँ हाम्रो यो गभर्नमेन्टमा पनि there are few folks like who are championing your IT service. I mean it's like what already $1 billion industry right now.
it has started
It
for
started,
sure,
yeah, for sure. I would say like I think now your industry group or Lebanese lobby so like we need to be able to fix this policy again. That's the only way Nepali entrepreneurs can truly scale in outside of Nepal and build like a global company right from here.
अर्को एउटा इन्ट्रेस्टिङ क्वेसन आई थिङ्क यु आर डेफिनेटली अ राइट पर्सन टु आस्क द्याट विथ अल द हाइप गोइङ अराउन्ड एआई होइन कहिलेकाहीँ चाहिँ अब मलाई त्यो अस्ति मैले वाइ कम्बिनेटरको एउटा दुइटा रिसेन्ट पडकास्टहरू सुनिरहेको थिएँ होइन अनि अभियसली अ लट अफ भिसिज आर बुलिस अन एआई राइट नाउ होइन तर मलाई त अलिक कहिलेकाहीँ करेक्ट मी फ्याम रङ कस्तो कस्तो भाइब्सहरू आउनु थालेछ वेन यु रिड सम रेडिटको पोस्टहरू यताउता कमेन्ट्सहरू होइन एज इफ obviously the AI is for real तर a lot of investors are now consciously hyping it up because they have invested a lot of money on AI startup होइन so त्यो कन्टेक्स्टमा चाहिँ त्यो I don't know, am I making sense to you?
No, absolutely. I like whenever there's like new technology that gets all of a sudden like mass adoption, right? There's always going to be hype. Like you look at like 1999, right? This internet era, like company were like a $1 billion company overnight, right? And that crashed. You look at crypto like not long ago, right? There are companies raising in a multi-billion dollar valuation, they crashed. So AI ma pani ke chha AI is, this technology will, basically transcends the entire, way of doing business going forward. That's true. It just not, it just didn't happen all of a sudden. This was like happening for a long time, right? People were working behind the scene. Like OpenAI started, 2015? Right? So they've been investing so much in research and R&D to get this technology today, what it is today, right? And they're already company building using AI back in 2018. It's just that they were not calling themselves AI companies, but everything was happening using AI behind the scene, right? And अब अहिले चाहिँ यो chat GPT moment चाहिँ it's like an iPhone moment. Chat GPT moment ले चाहिँ everybody just opened up and then all of a sudden VCs are like, VCs are like your investor line के हुन्छ नि fear of missing out भन्ने हुन्छ के FOMO. That's what's happening right now. And people are, these VCs are chasing deals right now and they're investing in crazy valuation. A lot of, some of these are speculation, froth. It happens in any time something like this happens. It's bound to, like, some of these companies going to go bankrupt, right? And they're not going to find product market fit and whatever. Like, they, just because you raised so much money doesn't mean you'll succeed. There are countless examples of that has happened in 2022 and earlier, right? Technology is real. And I think, some of the best AI company are implementing AI behind the scene without a lot of hype. And it's already changing the way people do business. It's going to change a lot of industries. Like,
so the hype is real.
The hype is absolutely real. AI in 5 years, the way you basically shop, the way you work, the way the company operates, all of that's going to change drastically.
And it feels like every other companies हुन्छ नि त्यो अब AI powered,
Yeah.
AI powered, AI powered.
You have to, right? You have to. I mean, some of them are doing it. Some of them faking it. The best AI companies are silently, utilizing AI to make their operations better. Like now, your operational efficiency will continue to go up. They're not going to need as many people to do certain things, like even sales, marketing, right? Let me look at content marketing. It's like, it's like you don't need 90% of these people anymore, right? So some of these are like low hanging fruits that's going to get disrupted first. And then after that, some of the complex things like these AI agents, you can do a lot of these workflows between two companies, AI agents talking to each other, so these are going to be the next steps. And then there are other complex cases, for example, R&D or healthcare, there's already huge use cases त्यसोहरूमा, so that will continue to happen. You will, I mean, in next 3 to 5 years, you will see companies with like a 5 or 10% company doing hundreds of millions of dollars revenue, and it's only possible, because of AI.
अन्त एआईमा पनि मोस्टली यो जेन एआई मात्र हाइप भइरहेको यो एलएलएम मात्र हाइप भइरहेको जस्तो फिल हुँदैन हजुरलाई
अब यो जेन एआई एलएलएमहरूले चाहिँ अब दिस इज अ फाउन्डेसनल मोडल होइन अब यु क्यान युज द्याट टु बन्च अफ डिफ्रेन्ट थिङ्स राइट सो अब हाम्रो युज केसमा चाहिँ हामी चाहिँ के गर्छौँ भने देयर आर लट कम्पनीज दे जस्ट बेसिकली use like what is called a chat GPT wrapper and then just offer it as a product, right?
Exactly.
They're not going to succeed. I mean, at some point, maybe if they have a little bit of attraction right now, because that's commoditized. Anybody can do that. You don't even have to write code. You can just go to a platform and build that, right? हाम्रो use केसमा चाहिँ के छ भने what we are doing is like we're using LLM, but then we're also using our proprietary data to be able to give a precise answer to our clients and make it a precise model where it uses both. And that's our advantage, right? Because we built a system of record. So we have all of this data that we can utilize LLM, data coming from LLM. And then basically with our agentic flow, we can give them a proper, answer that they can execute on. अहिले चाहिँ यो इन्फर्मेसन ग्यादरिङ इन्फर्मेसन नो हाउ मात्रै भइरहेछ द नेक्स्ट फेजमा चाहिँ यु क्यान एक्चुली एक्सिक्युट वर्क फ्लोज एक्सिक्युट थिङ्स होइन त्यो चाहिँ नेक्स्ट एडप्सन जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई
आई लाइक हाउ यु सेड जिपिटी ऱ्यापर्सहरू होइन जहाँ चाहिँ त्यति त्यति सो हजुरले के भनिराख्नु भएको छ भन्दाखेरि डेफिनेटली युजिङ एलएलएम बट अन टप अफ इट युजिङ योर ओन exclusive data होइन and then give a unique experience to a customer.
Yeah, basically अब हाम्रो जस्तो इन्डस्ट्रीमा चाहिँ के हुन्छ भने I can't give like 70% answer to a question like hey what's the severance for firing an employee in California, right? I can't give a 70% answer that is 70% accurate. I have to give them like a 99-100% accurate, right? And so त्यस्तो कुराहरू चाहिँ LLM इनफबाट हुँदैन. So basically what we do is like let's say somebody comes to our platform and basically say okay I need to fire someone in Holland, right? So our system will basically understand what's the requirement in Holland. We know exactly how long that employee has been with the company, how much she's getting paid, and then how many vacation days he has. So we're combining our proprietary data with the LLM to give them like a precise answer and basically say, okay, this is the amount that you need to pay as a severance when you fire this employee, right? So the combination of information that existed in a LLM database with our own proprietary data to give them a precise answer that they can action on. So that's how we're utilizing it.
And त्यहाँ चाहिँ जस्तै for example, how are you so sure that the LLM is not going to train their algorithm based on your data?
So त्यसमा चाहिँ like त्यो उ गर्न मिल्छ like we can basically we can there are like lots of ways to like train them with the fake data and then just use real data when we're giving to the company giving to the client
so they don't get access to it.
Yeah, they don't get access to the real data. There's like a bunch of different ways you can protect that because if we can't do that I'm just a business like it's very difficult for us to use AI because we have so much PII social security and all this data that we don't send it to LLM at all. So त्यसको लागि चाहिँ आफ्नै डेटा मोडल्सहरू लाइक सिक्युरिटीहरू त्यो चाहिँ प्रोटोकलहरू चाहिँ हामीले इन्टरनली बिल्ड गर्छौँ.
अब इन फ्युचर कम्पिटिसन चाहिँ के हुने भयो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ द युज केसेस द युनिक युज केसेस द्याट दिस एलएलएम ब्रिङ्स द्याट दे क्यान गिभ 99% एक्युरेसी अन भर्सेस निस कम्पनीज लाइक यु होइन त अहिलेको लागि जस्तै अब च्याट जिपिटी मैले $20 किन्दाखेरि चाहिँ दे आर नट रियली अन्डर एनी अब्लिगेसन टु गिभ मी अ भेरी करेक्ट डेटा होइन इन जेनरल डेटा दिने हो तर इफ द सेम थिङ ह्यापन्स इन टु B2Bमा त इफ आइ एम पेइङ समथिङ फर B2B मोर एक्युरेट डेटा चाहियो तर हाउ लङ डु यु थिङ्क इट्स गोना टेक फर दिस LLM टु
तर यस्तो हुन्छ नि त सो एलएलएमले पनि यु क्यान ओन्ली गिभ यु इन्फर्मेसन राइट सो यु एक्चुअली स्टिल हेभ टु टेक द्याट इन्फर्मेसन गो एन्ड एक्सिक्युट अन द्याट होइन लाइक पेमेन्ट गर्नु पऱ्यो केही गर्नु पऱ्यो भने हाम्रो सिस्टममा चाहिँ के भने इट विल गिभ यु द इन्फर्मेसन इट विल टेल यु दिस इज इट एन्ड देन यु विल एक्चुअली लाइक डु यु वान एक्सिक्युट इट सो हाम्रो एजेन्टले गएर अटोमेटिक एक्सिक्युट पनि गरिदियो नि त सो द एक्सिक्युसन लेयर इज वाट यु नो द एजेन्ट विल पावर गोइङ फरवर्ड
अनि लङ रनमा चाहिँ हजुरहरूको कोर एसेट भनेको चाहिँ द अमाउन्ट अफ unique data that you have of your customer is going to be what's going to distinguish you from
absolutely.
अनि अब जस्तै for example that if somebody wants to build an AI company होइन मैले अस्ति आई थिङ्क एउटा vertical AI SaaS को फ्युचर भनेर पनि हेरेर आएको थिएँ होइन अनि हजुरको अन्डरस्ट्यान्डिङबाट चाहिँ if somebody wants to build a company around AI how do they not just become another GPT wrapper but then actually build a use case अनि when they are building a use case मतलब एटलिस्ट त्यो ब्यारियर टु एन्ट्री चाहिँ इनाफ होस् अगेन्स्ट दिज LLM के
अब अहिले चाहिँ यो डिपेन्ड्स अन द युज केस राइट बिकज देयर आर सर्टन युज केसेस यु हेभ टु बिल्ड द इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर फर्स्ट लाइक फर हाम्रो जस्तोमा पेमेन्टको इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर बिल्ड गर्नु पऱ्यो अब जिपिटीमा गएर लाइक यो पे गरिदियो भन्दा त हुँदैन राइट सो देयर आर डिपेन्ड्स अन द युज केस टिपिकली लाइक यो B2C यो कन्टेन्ट यो हुन्छ नि जस्ट लाइक इजिली बिल्ड गर्नेहरूमा चाहिँ देयर इज गोइङ टु immense competition like anybody can build it होइन and they can just tweak a little bit and refine it so त्यो चाहिँ अब it really depends on the use case but even other companiesहरूमा build गर्दाखेरि now you have an ability to build like an AI native company so it's going to be a lot easier के यो अब कोड लेख्नै पनि त right you don't need like 10 engineers anymore you probably need like one the AI will write the code for you you just need to refine it so त्यस्तोहरू चाहिँ that barrier of building a product barrier is going to be easier where everybody's going to face problem how do you distribute because they like distribute गरेर like in revenue त गर्नै पर्यो like and that's where people going to use AI tools but that's still a challenge because you need a way to distribute your product sales marketing like and how do you do that if they're like 10 companies do the exact same thing right how do you differentiate between one versus the other right so if some company already has a distribution channel and they basically built an AI product I mean they're going to succeed right and that's why you avoid AI ko use case ma existing company who has distribution has actually upper legs if they can actually work and start to inject AI into the companies the problem with those companies like there some of them are big and they don't have the founders DNA and they can build things they can only operate things they can't build things and that's the differentiator right and that's why these new AI companies they're going to build very differently very efficiently and they're going to go to market because they could be ultra competitive with the legacy companies.
Okay. I think I got my answer, but then I didn't got the answer that I wanted. Let me reframe
the
same question. So for example, for a young entrepreneur who wants to build something around AI,
right?
I know. Let's say I think vertical AI, use cases or niche use cases or is. I was reading this article about like $1 billion TAMs or vertical. AI companiesहरूमा होइन युनिक युज केसेसहरूमा होइन सो हाउ सुड एन अन्टरप्रेन्योर अप्रोच दिस आइडिया कि ल आई रियली वान्ट बिल्ड अ कम्पनी अराउन्ड एआई युज केसेस obviously I'm not asking you an idea
no I got your question so त्यसमा चाहिँ के गर्नु पर्यो भने like once again right the fundamental of understanding a problem where you can bring AI to solve use case that's the fundamental thing that they have to look for right so let's say they want to build a company that allows यो सिपिङहरूको लेभलिङहरू गर्ने ट्र्याकिङ गर्ने इजी गर्न मिल्यो नि त होइन सो आई मिन बट दे हेभ टु अन्डरस्ट्यान्ड लाइक कहाँ चाहिँ एआई युज गरेर त्यो चाहिँ एकदम सजिलो बनाउन सक्यो होइन त्यस्तो सोच्नु पऱ्यो कि लाइक वेयर क्यान आई युज एआई टु लाइक मेक द प्रोसेसेस ओर मेक द्याट वाट एभर इज ह्यापनिङ टुडे हाउ क्यान आई मेक द्याट बेटर नट जस्ट बेटर लाइक 100x 10x बेटर
त्यसको लागि चाहिँ थिङ्किङ AI एज अ फिचर वान अफ द फिचर अफ द कम्पनी
न फिचर पनि हुँदैन इट कुड बी जस्ट फर युज केस राइट देयर इज लाइक प्लेनी अफ युज केसेस अहिले आइरहेको छ जस्तो यो कम्प्लायन्सहरूमा लिगलहरूमा होइन सो रादर देन सेन्डिङ इट टु लोयर्स टु रिभ्यू अल अफ द्याट होइन सो दे क्यान बेसिकली युज एआई टु इन्जेक्ट यो लिगलहरू दे विल एक्चुअली रिभ्यू इट फर यु होइन सो त्यो चाहिँ अब तर लिगलको रिभ्यू गर्नलाई इट्स भेरी कुन कुन सेक्टरमा चाहिँ गर्ने हो त राइट हुन्छ यो इम्प्लोइमेन्ट लमा गर्ने हो कि लाइक यो के अरे सिक्युरिटिज फाइलिङहरूमा गर्ने हो कि त्यसको नलेज चाहिँ हुनु पऱ्यो नि त्यसको लागि चाहिँ त्यो एलएलएमको ऱ्यापर मात्रै गरेर चाहिँ पुगेन कि यु एक्चुली ह्याभ टु अन्डरस्ट्यान्ड द युज केस अनि त्यसको त्यो युज केसको चाहिँ अरू कुराहरू पनि लिएर आएर चाहिँ त्यो प्रिसिजन मोडल बनाउनु पऱ्यो कि बिकज
आई थिङ्क एक्सक्लुसिभ डेटै होला
एक्सक्लुसिभ डेटा पनि हुन्छ या आई मिन डेटा प्लस डेटा पनि भयो बट देन त्यो चाहिँ you have to like continues to refine the model using like lots of different datas, lots of different contents, whatever the use case in your company. अब legal को गर्ने भने you need to inject so many of these compliance documents. Like एउटा मान्छेले चाहिँ like basically I want to build a AI engine that automatically does like SEC filing for certain things. अब त्यसको लागि त्यसको डेटा बेस त नलेज बेस त त्यसलाई बनाउनु पर्यो नि राइट सो द्याट्स वाट दे निड टु फोकस अन कि त्यो चाहिँ कहाँबाट ल्याउने कसरी गर्ने भनेर
न्युरलमा चाहिँ अहिले हजुरले एआई कसरी युज गरिराख्नु छ
सो हामीले चाहिँ वी हेभ दिस होल आइडिया अफ सुपर एजेन्ट्स भन्ने छ and then within super agents frameworks we have like individual agents so because we have 6 or 7 different products so we have customer support ko lagi ema bhanne cha so if you go chat with Neural it'll basically answer a lot of the questions for you so that decreases our human capital to do a customer support your payments harma hamro KYC KYB transaction monitoring harma हामीले internally use gareko chham because that has allowed us to like significantly lower the human capital needed to like do a lot of these transactions. Like if you go to a traditional company they have like hundreds of people doing manual verifications in it out there so we've used that to do that. We're also using AI to be able to generate contracts like employment contracts. You can go to Neural platform and basically say, okay, I need an employment contract for a contractor in Brazil or Nepal or India or US. You can actually, our AI will ask you questions and then you can actually generate that and then you can use that to send it to your contracts server. So and then we're also using AI to basically help clients like run payroll, right? Make payments, approve like time sheets and expenses. When they insert when they upload like documents it automatically reads validates right त्यस्तो कुराहरु चाहिँ हामीले युज गरिरहेको छ हाम्रो एजेन्ट्सहरु युज गरेर
अस्ति इन्ट्रेस्टिङली हजुरलाई भेट्न त आई वाज लिसनिङ टु दिस वान अफ द पडकास्ट लाइट क्लोन भन्ने चलाउँछ कि ग्यारी टेनले वाइ कम्बिनेटरमा अनि दे वर टकिङ अबाउट एआई र भर्टिकल स्यासकै बारेमा कुरा भइरहेको थियो अनि दे मेन्सन अ कम्पनी कल रिप्लिङ हैन एन्ड आई एन्डेड अप गोइङ एन्ड चेकिङ आउट देम हैन एन्ड देन उसको पार्कर
कनराड पार्कर यस
हैन अनि उसको त्यसपछि उसको इन्ट्रेस्टिङ स्टोरी रहेछ हैन अनि त्यसपछि उसको एउटा प्यानल डिस्कसनमा सुन्न पुगेँ म हैन जहाँ चाहिँ ही मेन्सन अबाउट कम्पाउन्ड स्टार्टअप हैन एन्ड देन व्हेन आई मेट यु यु बी लाइक ओके दे आर आवर कम्पिटिटर्स हैन टेक्निकली सिमिलर इन्डस्ट्री डिफ्रेन्ट आइसिपी बट देन अ सिमिलर इन्डस्ट्री अनि त्यो कन्टेक्स्टमा चाहिँ ए वाउ हैन आई वाज रिडिङ समथिङ एन्ड देन आई मेट समवन हु इज बिल्डिङ अराउन्ड द सेम स्पेस यो कम्पाउन्ड स्टार्टअप भनेको सो न्युरल पनि त इट्स कम्पाउन्ड स्टार्टअपकै वरिपरिको आइडिया भयो होइन एकचोटि यसको डिमिस्टिफाई गरिदिनु त
या सो कम्पाउन्ड स्टार्टअप भनेको चाहिँ लाइक टिपिकली यो एचआर पेरोल एन्ड यु क्यान सी दिस इन डिफ्रेन्ट इन्डस्ट्रिज एज होलमा पनि होइन कम्पनीज यो एक्चुली 80s 90s मा चाहिँ देयर लट अफ लाइक कम्पनीज दे बिल्ड एन्ड टु एन्ड प्रडक्ट हुन्छ नि सबै यो कम्पाउन्ड कम्पनी जस्तो ओराकलहरू यो स्यापहरू दे बिल्ड लाइक बिग कम्पनीज राइट अनि यो 1990s मा चाहिँ इन्टरनेटले के गर्यो भने पिपल आर जस्ट बिल्डिङ फर वान स्पेसिफिक युज केस के एउटै निस होइन एउटै स्पेसिफिक युज केसको लागि गरे इट्स कल पोइन्ट सोल्युसन्स अनि यो अर्ली 2010हरूमा पनि के भयो भने कम्पनी आर जस्ट बिल्डिङ लाइक वान फर वान भर्टिकल वान प्रडक्ट लाइक पोइन्ट सोल्युसन्सहरू अनि यो हाम्रो इन्डस्ट्रीमा त एचआर पेरोल इन्डस्ट्रीहरूमा चाहिँ देयर आर सो मेनी थिङ्स यो कस्तो भने यो पेन्डेमिक पछि चाहिँ people are moving different countries, they have so many different things that they do as a company, even 5% companies global भयो So उनीहरूको चाहिँ कस्तो भने त्यसको निड्सहरू completely expand भयो के अनि they were using like bunch of different tools to accomplish like त्यो आफ्नो HR and finance operations. अनि त्यो रिप्लिङको त्यो कनराड पार्कर चाहिँ अब उसको इन्ट्रेस्टिङ स्टोरी छ people can go read it itself how he built a $3 billion company and then burn it to the ground. Not that he is fully responsible, but like VC kind of did that for him. And उसले चाहिँ this whole concept of compound startup भनेको चाहिँ okay मैले चाहिँ not just payroll मात्रै कि like payroll, finance, IT लाई नै combine गरेर अनि company just need to use हाम्रो system and we will provide everything for them भनेर start गर्यो. अनि उसले start गर्यो in 2017. It took them like 4 or 5 years to build it. अनि यो pandemic पछि बल्ल उनीहरूले पनि अलिकति traction पाएको. So in similar vein, हाम्रो पनि like, but similarly we are focusing on your CFO and HR stack ma. That's also because after 2019 यो pandemic पछि चाहिँ companyहरू like they want more out of a system, right? Their needs have changed. पहिला चाहिँ US मा मात्रै हुन्थ्यो, एउटा US को payroll use गर्यो, they're done. Now, their employees are Nepal, India, like, their vendors everywhere, their co-founders कहाँ कहाँ छ. So there's like different needs that arise out of that. अनि ट्रुली पहिला चाहिँ एउटै कम्पनी एउटै उसले पनि सिस्टम अफ रेकर्ड कम्प्लिट हुन्थ्यो बिकज नाउ इट्स अ डिस्ट्रिब्युटेड वर्कफोर्स त्यो मोडल चाहिँ काम भएन and then there's also like a lack of innovation of payments within this HR payroll industry. Okay? It's always been offline, handled by banks. So our goal is let's bring like a payment innovation within the space. Let's also build a platform where they don't need another platform anymore. And we automate their entire thing from onboarding, client, employee onboarding to pay them, providing benefits, money in and out flow गरेर and that's how we thought about. अनि हाम्रो चाहिँ यो आइसिपीहरू चाहिँ slightly larger than what Rippling typically caters to. Rippling भन्दा अगाडि एउटा company थियो called Gusto. They've also done phenomenally well, but they only have one product. They only serve companies that are like super micro SMBs. Okay? And Rippling came in and they basically started serving slightly more customers, slightly larger customers, because those customer base are willing to buy all those three products. The type of customer base that we are going after is called like mid-market customers. They don't want one vendor to everything, but they want to automate a lot of the, similarly, similarly, यो इस्युजहरू के जस्तो HR भयो, payments भयो, payroll भयो, vendor payments भयो, अनि customers को payments भयो नि त्यो चाहिँ that's how we focused on. And because of that, we have like 6 to 7 products. It's a compound startup. It takes a long time to build this thing.
And you'll keep on building multiple products, right?
Yes, we'll keep adding, multiple different things. So we have now a true HRIS platform. We have a payment, that we can do payments globally in 150 countries from a click of a button. We have the payment products, which are like a bill pay and, accounts receivable and the customer circle. And then, so, we will keep innovating. We'll keep adding more products depending on what the customer wants and what their use case.
Not to be surprised if in next 2 to 3 to 4 years, Ajugo customers are looking for a logistic service and then you introduce a logistic vertical.
I mean, it depends. Like, so we can, it really depends. And we can either partner with someone. We don't have to build everything ourselves, but we could be a distribution mechanism for other point solutions as well, where we can integrate their product. For example, your device management भन्ने छ. So we've integrated device management भन्ने हाम्रो platform. So when they hire someone internationally, they can basically use our platform and order a device, whatever they are in the world, right? So त्यस्तो कुराहरू चाहिँ यो complementary productsहरू चाहिँ if we see a huge use case, we will build it ourselves. If not, we'll partner with someone else and then still offer like, end-to-end product right in our platform.
And is this now the new trend? This is how future software companies will be built on? I mean, like, यसरी नै हो अब आउने नयाँ ट्रेन्ड भनेको?
I don't know. Like, that's, it depends. That really depends on, the industry that you are operating. अब अहिले AI मा use case मा फेरि there are like ton of point solutions हरू हैन एउटा use case को लागि niche product मा गएर specialize, the vertical मा गरिरहेछ. So that's on the AI use case. But, but certain industry like our industry हरूमा चाहिँ like, people are moving more and more into like हुन्छ नि I don't want to use 3 platforms, right? Because it does no good for me. Because your अर्को platformबाट data ल्याउने पठाउने, it's a nightmare. So if I have everything in one place, I can have a better understanding of our employee base. I can run reports. I can see, where people are, like हुन्छ नि. So your industry मा चाहिँ I think this makes sense. But not all industry it makes sense. Yeah.
कस्तो इभेन few industries मा त यो super app जस्तो हुने भयो के?
Right, exactly. I mean, few अब यो के भन्छ यो consumer उमा पनि अब Apple like they're doing lots of different things होइन. So it depends, right? Microsoft हरूले पनि they're adding tons of productहरू त्यसरी. So bigger companies going to get bigger and they'll continue to add more product होइन. So at some point like त्यो कस्तो हुन्छ नि यो ठुलो कम्पनीहरुमा चाहिँ the founders DNA हुँदैन and somebody comes in as a CEO, they just want to operate the business and that's their downfall, right? So some CEOs are great because if you look at some of the companies, right, so that are founder led companies post IPO, you look at companies like Nvidia, he started the company, he's still there. You look at a company like AMD, she's a founder, she's still there. You look at Tesla, SpaceX, like, and he's the founder, he's still there. Look at Facebook, right? The guy started the company, he's still there. So the founder-led companies that are, continue to operate this business, they'll continue to innovate and they'll continue to be relevant. And the companies where, even though they have an amazing, use case or they have captured the market, and the founder is not there and they don't have a really good CEO, they will die. Like look an example of Intel now, how in 1990s, early 2000, everything was Intel processor, right? Every single thing you touch had like an Intel processor. Now look what happened, like Nvidia and AMD just completely demolished them, right? So that's going to continue to happen, I think.
अनि लार्ज कम्पनीज विथ गुड सिइओज तिनीहरूले चाहिँ धेरै फेरि अक्वायर गर्दो रहेछ कि
Exactly.
दे
So
किप अन अक्वायरिङ
yeah, and we
बिकज दे
see,
कान्ट इनोभेट
right, they can innovate, and we see that in our space as well. Your HR payroll industry, like ADP, your Paychex, when a legacy company, they acquire. And what they do is like they acquire गरेर and a group बनाएर like हुन्छ नि, and they will offer these products, but the user experience is not there. Okay, it's not from one platform. They still need to log in. Their integration doesn't work, होइन. So त्यो भएको भएर चाहिँ like if somebody can build a better system, better operating system with a better UI and experience, I think those companies will win, and that's one of our bet, right? So we're going up against like billions and billions of dollars in a company with the hundreds of billions of dollars of market value, but they're legacy company. They've been around for a long time. They can't innovate. The technology sucks, and we're offering multiple different products into one UI, one platform. And that's how that's our advantage over them.
Even this is a great space to explore. Okay, just for example, you identify legacy companies who are still relevant,
Right, yeah.
doing billion-dollar transaction, but has a poor UI or poor customer journey, होइन?
Yeah.
Then you start building
Absolutely,
around
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
हजुरले यो युएस र साउथ एसिया र चाइनाको कहिले हेभ यु गट कहिले त्यो टाइम रिफ्लेक्ट गर्न पाउनुभयो? जस्तै फर इक्जाम्पल चाइना कन्टेक्समा चाहिँ जस्तै सुपर एप विच्याट होइन, इट डज एभ्रिथिङ, एपमाथि एप होइन, दे आर एक्टिङ लाइक एप स्टोर्स होइन. तर यसो युएसको मार्केटतिर हेऱ्यो भने चाहिँ निस टाइपको के, जस्तै फर इक्जाम्पल उबर इट्स र उबर इज अ टु डिफ्रेन्ट एप होइन, निस छ. जबकि यतातिर साउथ एसियातिर हेऱ्यो, जस्तै अब इन्डियाको कन्टेक्समा जियो हेऱ्यो भने चाहिँ दे आर अलमोस्ट एभ्रिवेयर होइन, मोर अफ अ कङ्ग्लोमरेट टाइपको छ. नेपालको कन्टेक्समा पनि इफ यु सी द इकोनोमी रन बाई लाइक 17-18 कङ्ग्लोमरेट्स होइन, दे हेभ बिजनेसेस अराउन्ड अलमोस्ट एभ्री भर्टिकल के होइन. अनि reflection गर्नुपर्छ कहिले?
I mean, you asked me these questions, and I've thought about this as well, right? And why there are not like good stories about entrepreneurs starting from nothing and making like multi-billion-dollar companies, in Nepal or ma, So China ma that has happened. Right? Of just the Jack Ma, for example, started a company now is like one of the biggest company, right? So there are a bunch of stories in China who have we basically did a lot of this. अनि अब इन्डियामा पनि अप अन्टिल लाइक 2010तिर चाहिँ त्यस्तो थिएन कि लाइक यो कङ्ग्लोमरेटहरूको. आई थिङ्क इट वाज मोर अराउन्ड लाइक एक्सेस टु क्यापिटल, राइट? त्यति बेला सेयर्ड रिसोर्सेसहरू, बिकज ट्रस्ट छैन नि त, बिकज हु ह्याड एक्सेस टु क्यापिटल, all these big family conglomerate-हरुसँग छ, and they will start their own, like they will उसको छोराछोरी युएसबाट पढेर आउँछ, like okay, you start this, right? It's easy. नेपालमा त्यही हुन्छ हैन. तर where India started change what now the VC started investing into entrepreneurs. Like I when I looked at YC Combinator ko yo batch ma, half of them, like 30% of them, like Indian entrepreneurs, right? YC ma, like they're graduating from class, right? So
are they building for Indian market? Are they building?
Some of them are, most of them are building for Indian market.
And these investors are interested for product.
They're absolutely invested in so to access to capital, because they have seen what has happened to Flipkart. They have seen what has happened to all these other companies that started in early 2008, 2009, right? And India is a great market because
1.4 billion.
It's a huge market, right? And then plus it's a democratic country. It's not like China where they can just put somebody in jail if you don't like it. So you have a court system. You have so they actually prefer investing in India more than actually in China right now because of the geopolitical situation as well. And there's like a ton of money going into India, right? Indonesia, Korea, all these other places as well. So I think it's the access to capital and access to resources and the risk appetite of all of these capital VCs and PE firms from West, because they also need to beat the market, right? Otherwise they don't have a business. So they started looking more and more outside of their country, and that's what
countries are
exactly. So Brazil ma, Mexico ma, There's a lot of money going into these countries, and they're basically funding entrepreneurs, right? That did not exist back in early
And
2000.
it at which stage पनि important रहेछ क्या? Are you funding people at a growth stage that they have already built something around होइन? नेपालमा चाहिँ अघि हजुरले भने जस्तो यो सिड आइडिया स्टेजमा इन्भेस्ट गर्ने चलन नै छैन क्या.
Right.
Maybe that is one of the reason why we don't see great entrepreneurs coming up because
It's true.
त्यो 1 2 3 4 5 6 क्लासै नपढिसकेपछि प्लस टू कसरी गर्ने होइन?
That's true. And then, some, and Nepalमा त्यस्तो, I mean, Indiaमा पनि पहिला त्यस्तो थियो होइन, because they would build and then they would get growth capital. But what really changed in India is like, this your pre-seed, seed capital ले गरेर, like then they started funding tons of people होइन.
अनि यसो पनि भयो कि a lot of investors were entrepreneurs turned investors
Right,
भए.
yeah.
So now they are not just people from finance background, they are actually
Entrepreneurs, right? So, yeah.
जिलमा इन्भेस्ट गर्न पाए नि त.
Right,
आइडिया त इभल्भ गराउँदै जाम्ला भन्ने भयो.
I mean, if you look at like your Flipkart original, people who worked at Flipkart, I think 50 of them have like 50 different, unicorn, companies that came out of that, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that basically gave a signal to like investors, like, okay, I can actually invest in these founders because they have gone through that journey.
पेपाल जस्तो भयो कि होइन?
PayPal,
पेपाल माफिया
exactly,
भन्छौँ नि हामीले.
right. Same thing, right? India, there are a bunch of different stories like that. अनि यो पनि अब नेपालमा चाहिँ एउटा सक्सेसफुल कम्पनी भएर म्यासिभ के अरे भएपछि इट हेज एन इम्प्याक्ट के इट हेज डेफिनेटली हेज एन इम्प्याक्ट होपफुली वी कैन डु द्याट एट सम पोइन्ट देयर आर अदर कम्पनीज द्याट आर डुइङ द्याट एज वेल सो इट्स जस्ट नट अस इट्स मल्टिपल डिफ्रेन्ट कम्पनीज द्याट क्यान हेल्प डु द्याट बट या आई थिङ्क नेपालमा पनि अहिले देयर आर स्टार्टअप के भन्छ यो सिड एन्ड प्रिसिड भिसिसहरू अहिले आइरहेछन् होइन धेरै आई मिन भेरी सानोमा छ आई नो कपल अफ देम आर स्टार्टिङ होइन त्यो होपफुली आई थिङ्क द्याट विल बेसिकली इन्सेन्टिभाइज पिपल टु लाइक हुन्छ नि यो गिभ देम लाइक ए क्यापिटल टु बिल्ड के इट्स नट बिकज अफ आइडिया एन्ड इट्स नट बिकज अफ ट्यालेन्ट आई फिल लाइक इट्स द अर्ली स्टेज क्यापिटल द्याट्स ल्याकिङ हियर
ट्रु किन वन्स एउटा बिजनेस ट्रान्जेक्सन देखिसकेपछि त आई थिङ्क देन दे विल बी इन्भेस्टर्स होइन बिकज एभ्रीबडी वान्ट्स टु मेक मनी एभ्रीबडी वान्ट्स टु डाइभर्सिफाई देयर पोर्टफोलियो एउटा कुरा चाहिँ द्याट इज आई थिङ्क यो हाम्रो भोलि पनि एउटा प्यानल छ भोलि पनि यो क्वेसन चाहिँ मैले रेज गर्ने उसमा छु अनि आज पनि आई वान रेज इट टु यु होइन जस्तै फर इक्जाम्पल लेटली आई बिन क्वाइट भोकल अबाउट द आइडिया कि मेबी इफ दे कुड बी way we can connect this diaspora with local entrepreneurs with microphones maybe $5,000 $10,000 को चेक सो अनि यहाँ हेर्दाखेरि पनि यो 21-22 वर्षको भाइ बहिनीहरूलाई चाहिएको भनेको त्यही $5,000 $10,000 को चेक हो कि होइन नट मोर देन द्याट होइन अनि त्यसपछि भ्यालिडेट गरेपछि त आई थिङ्क पैसा फ्लो भइहाल्छ सो त्यो $5,000 $10,000 को चेक नहुँदाखेरि चाहिँ आई थिङ्क अ लट अफ पिपल आर गिभिङ अप अन द आइडिया लट अफ 1 वर्ष 2 वर्ष गर्दाखेरि केही हुँदैन एन्ड देन दे गो आउट होइन अनि त्यसले गर्दाखेरि रिपल इफेक्टहरू धेरै भइरहेको छ सो कसरी हाउ डु यु थिङ्क वी क्यान कनेक्ट अनि हेभिङ सेड द्याट वान मोर लेयर आई ट्रुली फिल कि अहिलेको नेपालीज डायस्पोरा 2024 को या 2025 को नेपाली डायस्पोरा अल ओभर द वर्ल्ड आई थिङ्क दे हेभ रिच अमेजिङ प्लेसेस के होइन लाइक इन द पास्ट जब हजुर युएस जाँदै हुनुहुन्थ्यो त्यति बेला त थिएन होला कि होइन अनि आई थिङ्क तपाईँहरूको जेनेरेसनको डायस्पोरा आर नाउ एक्चुली you guys have disposable income of 10, 15, 20, 30,000 US dollar to write a check, होइन कसरी गर्ने होला you come from a private equity ऊ होइन फाइनेन्स त हजुरको ब्याकबोनै भयो how do you see hypothetically how do you think we can make this happen?
So यो चाहिँ कस्तो भने Silicon Valley the reason it basically succeed is basically entrepreneur supporting entrepreneurs okay right and if you have an idea and you can go to like in the US there's what is called angel investments and they'll take check for 2,000 and I've done it like a lot of them right in the US I do it I've been doing this since 2018
you have this thinking every year I'm going to write at least this number
I mean not that but if I see a good startup and if I like it right if I like the founder I mean I will put like a small check and that's how we also get support other founders it's called like paying forward भने जस्तै
okay
so त्यो culture चाहिँ नेपालमा एउटा हुनु पर्यो and that's how people should be like funding the next generation of entrepreneurs because 2 लाख 5 लाख 10 लाख दिनु भने it's not a big deal for some of the folks here right so त्यो चाहिँ एउटा trust बन्नु पर्यो कि okay I'm giving it to you as a founder to explore this idea so त्यो angel investing चाहिँ US मा very popular छ this founder itself like it's kind of like a it's like a भइ नै रह हुन्छ के त्यो every founder does it होइन people encourage and And some people like you put $5,000 become a billion-dollar company, you make a ton of money, right?
Exactly.
So you look at like some of these Uber go early investors,
Facebook ko,
right?
Twitter ko.
Facebook go, Twitter go, like they put like what $5,000, $10,000, and they made billions, right? So त्यो इकोसिस्टममा चाहिँ युएसमा छ. I think इन्डियामा पनि त्यो इकोसिस्टम सुरु भएको छ, अरू कन्ट्रीहरूमा पनि सुरु भएको छ.
Do you think त्यो इकोसिस्टम हामीले नेपालमा क्रिएट गर्न सकिन्छ?
I think नेपालमा पनि गर्नुपर्छ के, लाइक अब हामीले नै गर्नु पर्यो कि, लाइक सो त्यो चाहिँ गरेर द्याट्स नम्बर 1 होइन. Number 2, and I know some of these people are doing it, right? So that has already started. It's just a matter of like people knowing each other, and I think whatever we're doing here, like your industry conference, or hopefully that will help us like bridge that gap. That's number 1. Second one, US ma pani what is called a crowdfunding भन्ने प्लेटफर्महरु छ के. So crowdfunding बाट चाहिँ जस्तो हाम्रो नेपालले नै गरेर we raise over $1 million जति हैन त्यहीबाटै. So it's very easy. If you have a product, you go in, you basically say, like, oh, I need this much and this is what I'm going to deliver. And people can put $100, $200, $300, $500, you know. And if you have a really good idea, त्यो चाहिँ नेपालमा अहिले छैन जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई, हैन. I think that's another way.
नेपालमा चाहिँ I think promoters चाहिँ 99 जना भन्दा बेसी हुन मिल्दैन भन्ने.
Okay, so that once again that has to change, right? Paul, we have to change that policy because if somebody has an idea and somebody wants to put like 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, let's encourage that, right? त्यो भयो भने young generation like के भन्छ नि, they have another source of capital where they can validate the idea, right? So like when you put the 10,000 rupees or 20,000 rupees, you basically said, okay, I'm going to give it to him because I really like the idea. I really want him to like succeed on it, right? So if many people can do that, they can easily have like 10-15 lakh to startup capital. That's another way. And then once that validation is done, I do think that we need an ecosystem where these VC firms start investing in the early stage at the seed level, and then help them grow from there. I think त्यो ecosystem चाहिँ नेपालमा developed हुँदैछ. I think we have some private equity companies. I think there are a few private companies who have gone IPOs as well, होइन. अनि त्यो भइसकेपछि चाहिँ it's just basically a circle, okay? अनि उनीहरूलाई पनि त लिक्विडिटी चाहियो नि to invest into the company. So त्यो IPO भएर अथवा उनीहरूले सेल गर्न पाए, एक्जिट गर्न पाए भने that money will come back and then fuel another growth. That's exactly how it works in the US. अनि त्यो build हुनलाई चाहिँ time लाग्छ. Once it builds, I think the velocity then will just be a lot higher.
I think भइरहेको छ हाम्रो conversation चाहिँ how can we expedite it?
Expedite it.
What are the catalysts that can increase the pace भन्ने कुरा.
Absolutely. So I think your crowdfunding चाहिँ somebody should talk to the government and somebody should build the platform. That's a great idea right there, right? So build a crowdfunding platform so that every day people can actually fund an idea. And अब अहिले हाम्रो आइपीओमा जाने बेलामा सबैजना फर्म भरेर लाइक हुन्छ त्यो 100 shares पाउँछ हैन. Whatever we put some of that capital there, हैन. I mean that could be easily like government पनि चाहिदैन, केही पनि चाहिदैन. अब त्यो गभर्नमेन्टले चाहिँ startup capital भनेर I think अस्ति start गरेछ. But then it's a loan, it's not an equity, right?
You need a collateral.
You need a collateral and all that stuff. Right? That doesn't work. There's too many constraints के त्यो गर्नलाई. And sometimes you just basically give some amount of capital to like R&D budget भनेर, हैन.
त्यो त यो केसमा चाहिँ कस्तो लाग्छ भन्दा फेरि यो पोलिसीको कुरा गभर्नमेन्टको कुरा सोच्दाखेरि चाहिँ entrepreneurship भनेको चाहिँ या entrepreneurial हुनु चाहिँ आफ्नो बिजनेस सुरु गर्नु रहेनछ के. जस्तै फर इक्जाम्पल इफ our government was entrepreneurial, they would have figured it out कि how do we make more money, how countryले पैसा कसरी कमाउने भन्ने सोच्थ्यो होला नि त. त्यसपछि पोलिसीको कुरा आउँथ्यो होला. त्यो entrepreneurial mindset चाहिँ okay now it's not just something that a mindset a founder should have भन्ने भन्दा पनि it's a mindset that anyone can have, हैन. अनि ए गभर्नमेन्टको पनि हुनु पर्दो रहेछ टाइपको वाला फिल हुने के.
So US मा चाहिँ the whole economy is not government dependent economy, हैन. So it's a free market. And then, it's basically incentivized for people to start company, build company, generate employment, right? And that's what they care about. If there is no employment, there's going to be a massive problem in US. So many people live paycheck to paycheck. So they always think about how do we get to a place where, there are like tons of employment opportunities. The employment opportunities like funnel गर्नलाई चाहिँ के हो भने you need a vibrant ecosystem of companies starting out like
exactly
SMBs and small small businessहरू. गभर्नमेन्टले चाहिँ धेरै इन्सेन्टिभाइजहरू गरेको छ कि युएसमा चाहिँ there's like tons of tax incentives. You can get like low interest free loansहरूदेखि लिएर obviously you have tons of like your private capitalहरू पनि accessible छ, हैन. सो त्यो चाहिँ नेपालमा लाइक फ्यु सिम्पल स्टेपबाट पनि हुन्छ जस्तो लाग्छ कि मलाई होइन वान आई वुड सजेस्ट गभर्मेन्ट लाइक फन्ड ए इनोभेसन फन्ड होइन you could have like finalists at least fund 30 companies every year just give them like I don't know 10 लाखै भए पनि like give them equity have some advisors just start that program now you're building 30 companies and in 5 years if let's say 10% of them succeed right now you have like what 10% of the companies three companies if they generate let's say 1,000 employments look what that did to the economy right I think that sort of mindset has to come in के यहाँ चाहिँ अहिले त्यो चाहिँ छैन के अहिले चाहिँ हाम्रो चाहिँ अब हाम्रो बजेटमै वो डिपेन्डेन्ट अन फरेन एड अनि यो गभर्मेन्टको पनि देयर इज लाइक टन अफ यो के भन्छ ब्युरोक्रेसीहरू छ राइट एन्ड वी हेभ सच अ लार्ज गभर्मेन्ट फर अ स्मल कन्ट्री होइन सो देयर आर फन्डामेन्टल थिङ्स द्याट आर पिपल आर नट थिङ्किङ अबाउट एन्ड यो मार्केट चाहिँ यसरी सोच्यो भने चाहिँ लाइक हाउ डु वी क्रिएट इम्प्लोइमेन्ट त्यही होइन त अहिले नेपालमा बिकज एभ्रीबडी इज लाइक वरिड अबाउट people going outside of Nepal and they're going outside of Nepal because there's no employment opportunities.
तर सेम थिङलाई चाहिँ फ्लिप गरेर हेर्दाखेरि होइन there are a lot of employment opportunities but there are not many applicants के होइन because a lot of people are going outside होइन त्यो कारण चाहिँ किन होला त जस्तै फर इक्जाम्पल जेनरली मान्छे माइग्रेट गर्ने भनेको फर टु सिक अपर्च्युनिटिज हो नि त होइन बट देन वेन यु टक टु अन्टरप्रेन्योर्स यहाँ अपर्च्युनिटी छ यहाँ चाहिँ अहिले मेबी त्यो फुमो क्रिएट भएको छ कि त्यो फियर अफ मिसिङ आउट इफ आई स्टे हियर समथिङ ब्याड विल ह्यापन वाला पेसिमिजम वाला टाइप हुन्छ नि
त्यो पनि छ अब आई विल गिभ एन एक्जाम्पल लाइक वी आर लुकिङ टु हायर लाइक 10 plus 15 12 plus people right so we haven't been able to find the right there are a ton of applicants don't get me wrong we haven't been able to find the right one and I think त्यो problem चाहिँ के हो भने हाम्रो यो schooling education okay because everybody is trying to hire people from like पुल्चोक यो the राम्रो कलेजहरुबाट होइन like that's what's happening so great talent is getting scooped really fast and there's like so many people that haven't gotten like the proper training in education and they are the ones seeking employment right and they get frustrated and they will go out
and अघि हजुरले भने जस्तै the difference between a good engineer and a great engineer is not much
right and then I think what I don't know private sector government they can do is they can at least focus on that the training part के education training मा चाहिँ if they can be a little bit more practical like in terms of training the workforce in the new age system I think that will help a lot I think a lot of private companies are पनि आफ्नै स्कुलहरु खोलेर गर्नु भएको छ I think that's great I mean that's already happening so we just need more of that to be able to like sustain the demand okay? Because I've spoken to like few founders in Nepal ma team bhakahru what all of their concern is they're like oh in 2 years I will not have enough talent so now I'm going to start setting up entity in India opening up operations in India in fact I'm thinking about that too because we have been able to hire 10 engineers in last 6 months right so अब हायर गर्दाखेरि पनि त जो पाए त्यसलाई त हायर गर्न मिलेन right
and there is a nice opportunity around some maybe some entrepreneur can figure a solution to this problem
absolutely I think there is a great demand and there are not enough like skilled people okay skilled to कसरी workforce like this skilled workforce बनाउने भन्ने कुरामा चाहिँ yes there could be an entrepreneur like they can think about making that work there could be some support from a government to do that I think the US aid is also supporting some of that right that just need to happen more and more at a velocity where the demand is there like demand is there like
so I'll let me just ask one question that might trigger some entrepreneurs so you're willing to pay extra for businesses if they promise to deliver good engineers to you
absolutely we're using recruiters right now to be able to find talent not only here the same thing in the US ma pani गरिरहेका छौं हैन तर at some point like we're going to scale यसो हुन्छ company ko there's going to be certain time where you found product market fit and now you're scaling customers are आइरहेछ नि त त्यति बेला hey wait I don't have I don't have service people you can't do that right then you start looking for other countries you start looking for other territories because the world is global every single day
exactly
and हाम्रो business हाम्रो product त के हो भने we make we actually allow employees and contractors all over the world to work for US and Western companies. Like we bridge that gap through our system. So that's our model. And we want to help companies, hire talent from Nepal, but they also need to do their job and make sure that they're actually skilled enough to do that. Right?
True. Well, last week I hosted Nepali entrepreneur based in US. And उहाँले चाहिँ के भन्दै हुनुहुन्थ्यो भन्दाखेरि अब त ब्याक अफिस हुनु भनेको त एउटा मोर एक्स्ट्रा सेल्स पोइन्ट भयो न, बिकज यु क्यान अफर मल्टिपल प्राइजिङ
Right.
प्याकेजेस टु यो कस्टमर्स भन्नुभएको थियो कि होइन. अनि आई नेभर सी इट फ्रम द्याट पर्सपेक्टिभ होइन. अनि त्यो
No, very true.
है
Very true, because अहिले what we are doing right now, we have like a parallel support, parallel team. Okay? We have sales, marketing, operations, treasury team in the US, and we have the same team in the Nepal as well. अब हाम्रो चाहिँ प्रडक्ट अहिले हामीले के गरिरहेको छौँ, and it gives us the competitive advantage. Again, I keep talking about that. We truly have competitive advantage in Nepalबाट गर्ने हो भने पनि. Yes, there's a time zone difference in this and that. There's always going to be things like that, होइन. अनि so हाम्रो small customers, we are serving them directly from here. They are lower ACV. Our higher ACV customers, who are serving them directly from the US. So we have like a two parallel system that we've already designed, and that's advantage for us because companies in the US can't do that.
अनि इट्स अ एक्स्ट्रा कम्पनीजहरूको लागि पनि दे क्यान कम एन्ड टक टु यु अबाउट 2 डिफ्रेन्ट प्राइजिङ प्याकेजेस होइन.
Yeah,
त्यो यिनीहरूलाई
absolutely.
झन् बेटर भयो.
Absolutely.
Amazing,
That is a pricing advantage, absolutely. That, as a company who operates in US as well as in Nepal has that. I mean, that's going to shrink because others going to figure out. They'll start to do that. But there is an arbitrage opportunity right now for us and a company like ours.
अमेजिङ द मजा आयो.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's very good. Yeah.
होइन यु आर एक्टिभ अन लिङ्कडिन.
Yeah, very, very much active.
So like people listening to this podcast, if they want to reach out with right approach, होइन म I keep saying this कि अहिलेको जेनेरेसनको अहिले चाहिँ people are responding के होइन. त्यो 2% maybe 5% छ होला कि रेस्पोन्समा होइन. But then you really need to have that के भन्छ an approach of writing to the people नि त होइन. अब जेनरली मान्छेले हाई नमस्ते लेखेर पठाएर त भएन नि त.
I mean, that's one of the things. Like, when मैले कस्तो भने मान्छेले गर्दाखेरि, so when they write and they make you work, like हुन्छ नि. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, come on, like हुन्छ नि, make my life easier or make me want to respond to you भन्ने कुरा हुन्छ नि. And I respond to a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people in the US, like, whether they are, म चाहिँ यो TGND को एउटा venture incubator भन्ने mentor पनि हो. I give my time. I go there because I was like, you know what? I'm paying forward. Maybe I can help them do certain things, right? So I'm unofficial advisor to a lot of companies अहिले. And I was like, you know what? It's not about like, I need this and that. I was like, whatever you guys need, just ping me. I will, if I have time, I'll definitely respond. But I try to do that a lot. And, a lot of people in the US, a lot of entrepreneurs in the US do that as well.
अनि आई गेट मेसेजेस अन वाट्सएप कि दाइ मलाई फलानु मान्छे कनेक्ट गराइदिनु न भन्छ होइन. अनि मैले के भन्छु भन्दाखेरि भाइ त्यहाँ पडकास्ट सुनौ, त्यो पडकास्टको डिस्क्रिप्सनमा उहाँको लिङ्क दिन्छ होइन. अझ बेस्ट त डाइरेक्ट मेसेज गर्नुभन्दा फुल पडकास्ट सुनौ, मेक सम नोट्स होइन. क्राफ्ट मेसेज कि हेलो दाइ मैले हजुर यो पडकास्ट या दिदी यो सुने मलाई यस्तो राम्रो लाग्यो, यो कुरा चाहिँ रियली स्ट्राइक भयो नि, मलाई यो सुन्दा मन छ भन्यो भने चाहिँ people appreciate and response नि त.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing that we are looking for, right? Because listen, I get a lot of LinkedIn requests and a lot of like people just most of the time they're asking for a job. And I don't even know, they just want a job. Like that's not helpful, right? What kind of job के हो कसो like अलिकति हुन्छ नि. अनि so त्यो चाहिँ like if you have like a legitimate ask
or context
हुन्छ नि, के गर्नु पर्यो, like okay, one of the guy basically told me like, hey, now I applied to this company and you are connected to the founder, can you make me a referral?
Wow.
Awesome. I did that in a minute.
Okay.
Right? So I think those are the things that we can help with, right? But if you just send me like, hey, I want to talk to you, I'm like, sure, but
you're already talking.
We're already talking, right? What can I do for you, right? I think त्यस्तो कुराहरू चाहिँ अलिकति upfront भएर अलिकति creative पनि हुनु पर्यो के.
Exactly.
Otherwise, listen, people's going to get ton of DMs हरू हैन, and they also don't have unlimited time.
Right? Exactly. So yeah, for people watching this podcast, we're going to link Nabin Daiko LinkedIn account below. And watch this podcast, make some great contacts, हैन.
Sure.
And ask the right question, and people do reply. अहिले चाहिँ I think त्यो उ भएको छ होला के दाइ. जस्तै one of the reason you are so willing to go out and give people time किन भन्दाखेरि हजुरहरूले कहिले त पाउनु भएन नि त.
Right.
होइन. अनि त्यो एउटा खुन्नस भन्छ नि हिन्दीमा एउटा शब्द छ भने त्यो रिस या के भन्ने एउटा पोजिटिभ रिस मैले पाएन नि त, ल म दिन्छु नि त.
And also truly for us also, like especially Nepalese-हरुको लागि चाहिँ, हाम्रो नेपालीहरुको लागि चाहिँ, we also want them to succeed. मलाई त कस्तो हुन्छ नि, लाइक नेपालबाट लाइक 10वटा जति कम्पनी आइपिओ जाओस् होइन, ठुलो बनोस् न.
हाम्रो त रिप्रेजेन्टेसन स्ट्रङ भयो नि त.
स्ट्रङ भयो नि त होइन. बिकज एट द एन्ड अफ द डे म यहीँ ग्रो अप भएको, यहीँ पढेको, माई फ्यामिली स्टिल हियर हुन्छ नि, लाइक स्टिल लभ द कन्ट्री होइन. एन्ड द्याट्स वाइ आइम डुइङ दिस होइन. अनि त्यही भएर लाइक आई वान्ट नेपाली हाम्रो मान्छेहरू ल सक्सेसफुल होस् अनि त्यसको लागि भनेर पनि इट्स कल लाइक पेइङ फरवर्ड सो वी आर पेइङ फरवर्ड बेसिकली राइट सो वी डिड अल द स्ट्रगल्स and we got to a place where we can actually afford to do those things, and I'm willing to do that.
Amazing, bhai. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the time.
No problem.
I
It's
really
been a pleasure.
appreciate-
Yeah, thank you
Same
so
here,
much.
bhai.
Yeah, and
Yeah, भोलि पनि हाम्रो उ छ
yeah,
होइन?
I know.
We have a small gift from one of our partners
Oh,
होइन?
really? Okay.
As a gift partner, corporate
okay.
gift partner. उहाँहरू चाहिँ अमेजिङ स्टोरी
Hey, interesting.
अनि उहाँहरूले चाहिँ ललितपुरमा 12 रोपनीको ल्यान्ड लिएर
Right.
दे हेभ फुलहरू रोप्नुभयो
Hey, interesting.
अनि अब चाहिँ त्यहाँ मात्र नरोकिएर मुभिङ अहेड अनि रिटेलमा चाहिँ नाउ दे सेलिङ द फ्लावर्स होइन अनि उहाँहरूको चाहिँ म्याक्सिमम् ऊ चाहिँ जस्तै डायस्पोराबाट आउँछ अरे कि
ए,
दे हेभ टु जस्तै अब हजुरलाई आफ्नो परिवारमा
Right,
चाहिँ
right.
फुल पठाउनु पऱ्यो या केक पठाउनु पऱ्यो के गर्नु
Great,
पऱ्यो
yeah,
हुन्छ होइन
yeah.
सो यो चाहिँ हिमालय फ्लोरिकल्चरबाट हो है
Hey, okay.
घर गएर पानी हाल्नु होला
Answer, Tiksa. Thank you.
This is to you. Ani,
Thank you
for
so much.
our audience and if you ever want to gift flower, yeah,
Right.
if you use Doers 10 as a code, you get 10% discount.
Hey, okay, great. Yeah.
So for people watching, if you want to gift flower or a plant as a gift, they are supporting us as a corporate gift partner. Use the code Doers 10 and then you'll get 10% discount. Ani, again, maybe the podcast is two of us talking in front of a camera, but there are amazing people behind the camera, behind the computer screen, making sure everything is happening great. And I'll also like to thank our production company, Bfinders, for making this happen. We are one of the largest podcast producers in the country. We produce tons of content for a lot of our brands, partners. So if you want to activate your social handles with content, you want content strategy, you want to grow with content, we are definitely one of the right company to work with. Do definitely reach out. Link is below. We'll be back again with another amazing conversation. त जाँदा जाँदै do you have any ending note? हुन त धेरै कुराहरू भनिसक्यौँ हामीले होइन
No, I think you're doing an amazing job bringing all of us together. At like help us share our stories, and I hope like some of you who are listening, get some ideas, get some thoughts, and I hope like these things help you kind of build your entrepreneurial journey. Think about new ideas, think about new things, and please let me know if there's anything that I can help with. But I think this is also great to be able to share our stories for them to know like things doesn't happen overnight. There's a lot of hard work and this and that. So hopefully this is helpful to your viewers as well.
Thank you so much, Dai. We'll be back again with another amazing guest, another amazing conversation. Till then, you guys take care. Bye-bye.